What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Bland back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. How are all you beautiful people doing, man? We got a phenomenal show lined up, man. It's a big week, big news, big show, man. We got phenomenal guests lined up. We got one probably dropping in here pretty soon as well. But shout out to all my beautiful people in chat, man. What's up, Shonsu, Mod of the Year, Lewis, Decado, everybody, Calorie hanging out, man. Some familiar faces. Once again, run up the likes, subscribe if you're new, tell everybody the Shop Podcast is live. We're talking ABK today, man. It feels like Christmas all over again, man. I feel so good. Shout out to everybody coming through. Appreciate all you guys hanging out. Like I said, share that link out. Let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live. This is where you get all your good gaming news every single Saturday evening, man. Appreciate all of you, man. But let me not take too much time here. We got a lot to cover. Lot to talk about, chat, man. It's been a big week, man. I see my brothers. I got some awesome guests here, and we'll start with that, actually, man. Shout out to you, Pixel Bit G, for coming through, man. How you doing? We got a big show lined up. What you been up to, brother?
Yo, I'm stuck in that Starfield play, boy, but it's good to be here. We're going to talk some shit tonight.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, man. And once again, Pixel BG, he's not his first time here at the Shop Podcast. Once again, all that information down in the description. Go follow Pixel BG, man. Glad to have him here. Like I said, we'll have another guest falling through here pretty soon. Once again, another familiar face. You guys see when he gets here, man. So shout out to you, Ward, Talos, Andrew, in chat. Shonsu, what's up, brother, man? We got to try and keep it clean, man. You know the trolls going to try and come through tonight, Pong. So we might have to do some house cleaning.
They ain't got much to say, man. They don't have much to say.
It all quiet on the resting front.
They've been laying kind of low play, boy. I don't know.
Listen.
Scattered. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, all they got is doom and gloom, man. Now they're back to Microsoft is collapsing the entire industry. They're gonna buy up as much as they can and just leave in 2027. That's the new one. So because that makes whole sense. So let's go.
Man, shout out to you guys in chat, man. We got some fun tonight too. Shonsu, you got your work cut out for you. If any other mods drop through, you guys keep the chat clear, man. Keep it clean. What's up, RWK? What's up, Abdel, man? And like I said before, the guest did fall through. What's up, Mav? What's up, family? How you doing, man? We juiced up today.
We juiced. What's up? Oh, it's done. We are so juiced, man. Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. PTK, we're gonna have some fun tonight. That's for damn sure. ABK is here. Welcome to the family. $70 billion is a gift. It's a hell of a gift for all of us. I think 70 billion. I'll take it. Thanks, Xbox.
Shout out to Matt for coming through, man. Family coming through. You know, sometimes this turns into a FSP 2.0 on Saturdays, man. That's how it happens sometimes, man. We got so much love, so much family. Shout out to all the FSP love in chat as well too. What's up, Chris Jones? What's up, OCD, man? Everybody hanging out, man. But glad to have you here, Mav. You guys, all that information is down in the description. Please do our guests a favor. Go follow them. Go support whatever they're doing, man. But I gotta get to my brothers, man. What is going on, Pong? I'm juiced up today, Pong. I was so ready this morning to get to this, man. I saw shout out to Steel. I saw Living Split Screen, another phenomenal show. So you guys always do a great job Saturday mornings. You guys go check that out. But how you feeling, bro? I know you juiced, man.
Feeling good, man. Like, listen, like I was just saying, it's just surreal that we're here right now. Like it's that moment. We've been talking about this for 20 plus months. We've been going in and out, down and up, every which way possible with this thing, the entire roller coaster through all the regulation processes. There was times and points when people were trying to tell us that it was dead. We were trying to tell people it ain't dead. Microsoft is not going to let this go. Satya is not going to drop this and walk away. And it's just been a long run, man. And here we are right now and seeing like Clobriel and others put up infographics with all the names of all the studios and obviously all the different IP that they now own. Man, it's just absolutely crazy. And we're going to talk a lot about it tonight because there's a lot of different angles to come at this from. There's a human element, there's a business side, there's the gamer side. There's all of it. And this is just really a historic moment, something that we've tried to put in perspective for people time and time again throughout these 20 plus months. how big this deal actually is. Again, if you don't care about this stuff, if you're just a gamer through and through and that's all you care about, give me the games, I get you. That's fine. Those of us that follow this industry, those of us that have a different interest level when it comes to this industry, this is one of those days. We're not going to forget this day. October 13th is going to forever. When Friday the 13th rolls around in October, every few years, every couple years, right? We're always going to be like, that's ABK Day, because, you know, of how closely we followed this. So it's special to be here. It's obviously freaking amazing to have a Pixel Bit G here. My brother from another, Mav, of course, dropping in here. Mav, I saw you were streaming yet again, talking about this some more. You know, that's where we're at with this, but it's great to share that with PTK, obviously you, brother, and Fuzzy too. So we're gonna get down to business. Otherwise, gaming wise this week, I'm just back into Starfield. I'm back in my Starfield groove. You know, I took a little time off to play a lot of Forza. Had to put it down because I miss Starfield so much. So I'm back on my space pirate ways right now. We're raiding everybody. So nobody's off limits. I just blew up grandma again for about the 5th time. So everybody's getting raided. I got carrying about 5 million in bounty right now. So we're doing good. We're doing good. We're having fun.
Good. Yeah, you're living the pirate life right now.
Oh yeah, definitely living that space pirate life. He did say we got the receipts. He said that's what was gonna happen. Sure. So, man, shout out to you for coming through, Pong, man. Like you said, it's a historic day, man. And this is why I love having a podcast, bro. Like, these are the days that I remember why I enjoy doing this, man. Shout out for the community coming through. This is why we do this for you guys, man. All the new faces, all the familiar faces, man. You guys come through, have a good time. It's ABK for real tonight. That's all we talking, man. So if you have not been alerted, all we're talking about tonight is that ABK Xbox Microsoft deal, man, for sure. But let me throw this over to my other brother, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere. How you been, bro? It's been a momentous week, man. A monumentous, historic, whatever word you want to use, bro. How you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling great, and it's been a busy day for me, but man, this has just been like a tremendous amount of good news these past few weeks. Like this past month, at least, ever since like Starfield's release, it's just been, you know, constant positive news cycle about Xbox. I mean, there's a few, you know, media outlets that's trying to bring stuff down, but man, this is the end of one chapter and the beginning of a whole new story kind of deal. So
they're gonna have to work a lot harder to bring this down, Playboy.
Oh yeah. But man, I'm glad to be here with you guys. We got a lot to get into, so this is gonna be a fun one. Let's do this.
Let's do it. And once again, chat, hit the like button on your way in, man. Shout out to everybody in chat. What's up, Silver Lab Guy? What's up, Andrew? Shout out to Stone King. Everybody coming through. Once again, subscribe if you have not already, man. We're talking ABK, Microsoft, Xbox, everything tonight. So let's dive right in. Like I said, we're jumping off the porch early, man. And obviously, we're going to start with you, Pixel Bit G. But I got to just get it out the way first, bro. I got to know what everybody was doing. The initial reaction, how you feel, just the initial reaction right off the rip, because you got to remember, we did kind of understand this was happening. We kind of got heads up. Most of us are, you know, fairly close to X, and we follow gaming, you know, very closely. So we kind of got a heads up that it was going to happen Friday with kind of the stuff going on with the stock market, and they putting a hold on the stocks and things like that. But either way, waking up to that official statement in the morning, how were you feeling? What was the initial reaction, Pixelbit?
I was like, damn, finally, like it's over. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to hear this nonsense anymore, right? But I was on like the 3rd day of a massive installation that day, so I was beat already because I was like, you know, another day of this nonsense. But
yeah,
it was like good news. Like, okay, so you know, finally they could just, you know, move on to the next step of their plan right now. You know, so you know, I thought it was a good idea. You know, I thought it was a good look. You know what I'm saying? It was like seeing the community be excited. Like, okay, like everybody hype. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, it's beautiful. Now you can kind of look at it and say like, wow, all the things that we were thinking about 2 years ago. Well, damn, it's almost 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
All the things that we were thinking about, like they could do, now those plans could come into motion, right? So like, I'm looking for my new Pitfall Harry. You feel me?
For sure. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. And I think that was the first thing for me too. Like I said, we kind of knew this was happening. Chat, let us know what were you doing? What was you at, your initial reaction, you know, when you first saw the official statement? Like I said, most of us kind of knew this was happening. I saw what was going on with the stock market on Friday. I was like, okay, it's really going down. Brad Sams dropping hints. You had I can't remember the guy from what I can't remember the guy's name. But a
Tom
lot of
Warren?
people, yeah, Tom Warren, there we go. Tom Warren
he
dropping
knew the
hints.
date.
He knew the date
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure, dropping hints left and right. So I was excited for this, man. I woke up and saw that official post and I went crazy, man. It feels so good, like you said, just kind of getting to the end of this and kind of it being, fantasy becoming reality. I think that's the big thing for me is that it is official and it is real. Like we can really start to put the puzzle pieces together and all of the stuff we were thinking about that could happen. We can really start to like look forward to some of that. And obviously, it's a lot of moving pieces. This doesn't move as fast as some people think it's going to move. There's obviously an integration period that I think a lot of people got to be, realistic about. That's going to take some time. Bobby's staying around for like 3 months. Then he's getting his ass out of there. He got his 400 mil. I'm sure that check's going to cash just fine. So I don't think he'll have an issue with that. But yeah, I think it's just it kind of culminates where Xbox has been going. It definitely puts a statue in front of the building for Phil. I don't know how anybody else is feeling about that, but I'm sure we'll get to that. But for me, Phil cemented his legacy. I know he talked about the Nintendo thing being kind of legacy defining. I don't know if it was a joke or not, but it was in the documents, right? So talked about Nintendo being a big deal for him, but I think this is just as big of a deal in my opinion. So let me throw this over to our other guest too, Mav. Obviously, you talked about this on FSP. Great show last night, by the way. Obviously, doing record numbers over there, man. So shout out to FSP Love. But Mav, what was just your initial reaction, bro?
Oh man, I mean, like you said, dude, we all kind of knew this was happening. Tom Warren had pretty much told us.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's like, yeah, this is happening Friday the 13th. He said that last week. And it was like, okay, is that real? Like, I mean, is he going to be spot on with this? And come Thursday night, late in the night, it came down to where they had halted the stocks. And once we saw that, it's like, it's happening. This is it. Like, this is the official moment. A few hours after that, CMA came out with their approval with some salt in their
A little bit.
approval. That was a little
a little bit in there.
unnecessary and
Did you
uncalled
see
for.
that interview that they did
Oh,
with the CM? Oh my god, it was. Anyway, go ahead.
CMA is just absolutely ridiculous. But and then after that, 3 hours later or so, a finalization of the deal was announced, and then some more hints as to when we can expect the benefits coming from Xbox's side itself. About early next year, probably starting to see the results from the consumer side on this deal, and it's a great time. And really, the biggest thing about it, though, PTK, is like the more you think about it, the more you actually take a step back and actually just realize how massive this is. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, not just for Xbox, but also for the entire gaming industry. And what this means, I mean, there's so many games that have so many players. There's so many developers that are working on so many different things there. And the development prowess and technology and all this stuff involved with this is going to help support this ecosystem for Xbox for the next decade plus easy, and going forward to cement them as one of the biggest pillars in the gaming
Yeah.
industry, even
So
more so than they are now. And it's astronomical, bro. Absolutely.
I want to make mention of something, and I'll go ahead and let you finish here in a minute. But I want to make mention that Pong. I'm sure Fuzz, you remember this too. Remember we talked about Xbox digging a moat, essentially, like kind of insulating themselves from like changes in the industry, because the industry can be fickle, man. Right? Anything can happen. You never know what's the next big game. Things like Fortnite come out of nowhere. Things like Baldur's Gate come out of nowhere and take over the industry, and you never know what the next big hit's going to be. You need to be prepared for that. On top of having this gigantic machine called Game Pass that you continuously need to feed, so it kind of served a double purpose. But this is just reinforcing what we had already said, Pong, Fuzz. This is them reinforcing themselves
Correct.
from like these big changes in the industry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
100% insulation.
Yeah, and Pong, shout out to Pong, because like on some of our shows, he had been talking about the moat for a while,
Yep,
and
definitely.
then it ended up coming out in the leaked documents, them using that same terminology about what
Booty.
they're trying to do and create the self-insulated place where they can exist without fear of what's happening around them. And this really does help cement that. And you really think about going beyond, and when you talk about what that means, that's the interesting thing. Like, what does the moat really mean? And I think that for me, it's you have so many more capabilities because you're less reliant on having to be careful with certain aspects, like, or we need to do this because it's only the thing we're capable of. This expands the capabilities in so many different ways that you're able to do different things than they've ever been able to before. And not just from the Xbox side, but also from ABK. ABK is more capable because of this to do things they haven't been able to because they've been hamstrung into making sure that they have to get that Call of Duty out every single year and all these things. So, all these developers, all this talent, the studios are going to be refocused and organized and potentially um, work on different things, and we haven't been seeing them work on before. What does this mean for? Is something I was thinking about. Like, what does this mean for Xbox's capability and willingness to go and get those other licensed IPs and stuff to have teams
Yeah.
work on? Because they beforehand they wanted to focus so much on their own first party content because they wanted to own the franchises that they're investing in, right? Well, they're already going to have so much of that stuff, and it's going to help cement Game Pass and all this. So, does this mean that, like, with Activision Blizzard's history, and now also ZeniMax Bethesda is doing some licensed games, is there more potential for those kind of things too to sell Game Pass with some other properties that aren't even necessarily part of the ecosystem currently? Because you have the development talent to do it, and you're not so focused 100% on that stuff, and it's not as big of a risk. So I think this opens up a world of possibilities for Xbox. It's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I agree. And one thing I want to kind of throw this back at you, Matt, before we continue and move on here to the rest of the panel. One thing I find interesting about this deal, and like you said, I'm glad you brought it up, bro, is the variety, the ability to like staff their weaknesses. This just stretches that bubble, right? Like they could already do a lot of different things, and we understood that, right? Like Starfield is different. I know people don't give them a lot of credit for that, but Starfield absolutely wouldn't be what it was without Xbox stepping in and providing the resources. I think we can all like admit to that at this point. Like whoever didn't already probably should. Because the actual information's out there.
Hmm.
They contributed a ton to Starfield being what it actually is and being able to work that it actually,
The fact
run
that they
the way
got
that it's run.
delayed for over a year says a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bethesda would not have delayed that game, right?
Hmm.
No,
So
it would have came out
Microsoft
as
did.
is
So
in
yeah,
whatever form and
whatever
shape it was in
broken
at
form
that
it was
point.
in 2 years
Exactly.
ago, it would have came
Exactly.
out. So
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. So no, I 100% agree. I want to throw this back at you, man. So, I know you mentioned that bubble expanding, right? Like, and you brought up an interesting point: new IPs versus what's in the vault, right? Like, because my immediate thought is like one of my immediate thoughts. I'd probably say top three was okay. What IPs are we digging up? That's obviously been another question too, right, man? The community's been asking, okay, like what's next for these other studios now that they're gonna have some time. So how do you figure that they weigh that out? Like, new IPs versus, how much actually are we gonna go in that vault?
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to find out because these are the answers we're not going to know 100% for a while. But at the end of the day, when Xbox made this deal, they also acquired a built in user base, right? You have the 30 plus million Game Pass subscribers right now, but there's hundreds of millions of people that play Activision Blizzard games, right? You have the Call of Duty base. I was looking at the Hearthstone numbers earlier, just absolutely blown away by the amount of people that still play that game.
Yeah.
And that's just so many different franchises that are within Activision Blizzard that have a dedicated fan base. So I think first you actually have to make sure you are still supporting those fan bases as well with not just completely like sabotaging them. So that's going to be a key focus there because you don't want to take that over and have those player counts dwindle whatsoever.
Yeah.
But how do you do that and also allow these other studios to be creative? Because Game Pass is at the core of all of this, right? At Game Pass, building the ecosystem across multiple devices and all these kind of things. And variety is key in that,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
said that like hey, you're casting a wide net, right? You're not just trying to capture one type of game, you're trying to capture all these different kinds. So you look at the variety already built in with ABK, it's already a massive variety. You have card games, they have mobile games, they have shooters, they have RTS franchises, they have all these things. So I think they focus first off on reestablishing some of the franchises that have been dormant that have those large player bases, like a StarCraft and stuff like that. And I think that may already be in the works. Also, Blizzard establishing new IP as well already that we know about with the survival game. So they're doing some of those things already because it was a focus from Activision Blizzard before this acquisition happened to branch out beyond Call of Duty and do some more different things. But I think there is potential there now that they're less reliant on having to make sure that they cobble together a Call of Duty every single year. Otherwise, the whole structure of the publisher will crumble. Right now, they have the backing from Microsoft. There is no fear for that. Right, so you
Yeah.
can set some freedom, but while still supporting those games like Xbox has been known to do and grow them. So it's going to be exciting to see. I think potentially they get away from the every year Call of Duty thing.
Yeah.
Maybe not right away. Maybe
Yeah, I was
in
gonna
a
say,
couple
and that's gonna
years.
have to be you're gonna
Right.
have to wean people off of that because you can't do that right away.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit of shock to the system,
Yeah.
but
You can mitigate that a little bit though with content, right? So
100%.
Well,
switching
Warzone
from
helps, right? Like
right, but
having
also just switching from the yearly full release model to a bi-yearly model where you still provide content for 24 months may help. Just saying.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
no,
absolutely. Isn't that
exactly.
kind of what MW3 was intended to be to begin with? Right? Wasn't that
Yeah,
kind of
it
intended to
was
be
supposed to
something that they
be
support for a little bit?
It's supposed to be like an expansion. Game Pass also helps with this too because, like, you have these players that are going to be getting these games and stuff. And what Xbox has proven before is the continued support with all of their franchises, right? So they're
Yeah.
going to keep supporting these games, even if they get away from the yearly release, like you said. So I think that's kind of what they end up going to. But I think it's like maybe 2 or 3 releases away potentially before they do that, unless it was already in the plans, and
Yeah.
we don't know. The interesting thing with Modern Warfare 3 is it's like kind of cobbles together some different Call of Duty brands into one. So I don't know if they potentially took some things and ideas they had for next year's game and implemented into this thing or what they're doing there. But um man, I think they're gonna see a mixed bag. Continue to support the big franchises, establish those, bring back some of the bigger franchises, and then also allow and grow some of these other smaller studios to be able to be more free to create some other things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge to me too. That's a big, 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 big deal. And that's one of the things that I obviously want to highlight too is that this frees up a lot of that other talent. People talk about Toys for Bob, Knox, all
Yeah,
those other IPs. There's only one way to get those IPs made. Like when you talk about going in the vault and digging them out, well, somebody has to make the game.
yeah.
Like when
So
you go in there and dig them out, like you go through all that point to revive the license and go through all of that legal work to get all of the music and the characters and all these different things up to date. You need somebody to actually make it. So you got
so
to be able to free up the time.
Psycho had shared something in our DMs about a new like Beanox like
Yeah, they did. I
thing. So
shared that as well too in our DMs as well too. Pong and Fuzz.
yeah, what is
They
that all
opened up a
about
second studio
exactly?
in Montreal, I believe.
Right.
A second studio. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't really read deep dive the article. If anybody wants to post that in chat, you can. There's an article on X somewhere. It's in my feed as well too about that. But it's in Montreal. I didn't read the article in depth though.
Yeah. I'm so like this kind of goes to like Activision Blizzard, which they've said before about wanting to not be as dependent 100% on Call of Duty, right? Which I think is good for all publishers to do. Like you need to branch out and do more things instead of just be as reliant on one. So it's gonna be interesting to see some of these other studios and what their plans are that they may already be working on or know about that, that maybe we won't have as long of a wait for as we think.
Yeah, that could definitely happen. But let me go ahead and get this over to my two right hand man here, man. And like I said, we're gonna start with you, Pong. It's been a historic week, and I don't think I can use that word lightly, right? Because I think that's the perfect word for what happened as of Friday morning. It's been a historic week, man. And just I want to get your initial reaction to the ABK deal, and then kind of just your general kind of rubber band thoughts right off the rip. Up,
Pong Soul?
yeah,
There we go.
Is
I'm
he-
back.
there he is.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah, yeah.
there he is.
My stupid, whatever. Anyways, I kind of shared my thoughts in my initial opening here a little bit, but I'm gonna take it in this direction. And I'll kind of piggyback off of what Mav was talking about and what you guys kind of brought up during that whole segment. There is when it comes to Activision Blizzard King, this was the perfect acquisition for Microsoft Corp and Xbox as far as what it provides them. And the moat, the installation, all of that is correct. We now have internal documents that let us know that we were spot on with that speculation going back years ago about what they were trying to do here. The thing for me is watching this again, a big part of my excitement. Sure, the short term, we're going to get games in Game Pass, and the potential that I won't have to buy Call of Duty at some point going forward every single year or whatever the case may be. All that's really cool, and that's freaking fantastic. That's a lot of what comes with these acquisitions. But my excitement really does stem from the potential of what this deal means going forward, right? And the direction that now Xbox gets to dictate their destiny away from everybody else. Whatever anybody else wants to do in this industry, Xbox now, and they're not done. Again, I'm talking like they're done. They're not done. Okay, they've got more in play here. There's going to be more acquisitions down the road for sure. But the fact is right now with this was the triple header. This was the triple-headed monster that they needed. It provided them console. Actually, it's probably almost a quadruple, a four-headed monster here at this point, because it provided them console stuff, console games, console IP that they can work with, content for Game Pass, content for all their product lines, etc. They got one of the biggest PC developers in the world in Blizzard, who is on an upswing. They were on a downswing. Recently, they're on an upswing. Yes, Diablo 4's had some rough patches, but again, overall, Blizzard has been doing much, much, much better than it was there for a while in the World of Warcraft and that kind of stuff too. Then they get their mobile side with King, which is their next big battle. We've talked about that here. They've said it openly. They're going after Apple and Google duopoly. And then as the fourth head, I'll throw in tech. They get things like BattleNet, which could immensely help them down the road if they get it integrated. It could be an advantage for them. It could get them a shortcut to fixing some of their PC Game Pass problems. A lot of people hate the app. Obviously, the Xbox app on PC, it's not up to par. BattleNet could solve a lot of different issues. So this is kind of the four-headed monster. And they now have the moat almost complete. Again, I talked about it last night. We talked about it overall. I think they've got one more big move in the East with a big publisher, a couple devs to make sure that they got a footprint over there, a big footprint in the East. And then I think your moat's complete because now they can supply themselves. They're completely 100% self-reliant. That doesn't mean they're not going to go do deals. That doesn't mean we're not going to see third-party stuff and indie stuff and AA coming into Game Pass. But they are now self-reliant. Whatever they need in a moment or in an upcoming roadmap as they look down at their pipeline, if they can't go get that game per se from a third party with a fair deal, chances are they're going to have a studio that can make one or can already have an IP in-house that's going to fill that role. That's huge. They now are arguably the biggest publisher in the world. Okay, just from sheer size of number, they are now approaching Ubisoft numbers. We don't have official headcounts yet, and we might not have official headcounts. It's kind of hit and miss with people's numbers, but it's somewhere around 20,000 people underneath
that's what I saw
Xbox
as well,
now.
too, Pong. That's about right.
So they are now, and in terms of content, in terms of amount of games that they're able to produce that are in production right now that we just know of, not counting the stuff we don't know of, they are the world's biggest publisher right now. They went from 5 studios in 2017 to, if you break out the teams underneath like Blizzard and stuff, if you actually break them out away from just the dev name that they have overall, you're talking about 44 plus teams right now. That is ridiculous. They now control their own ship. They don't have to worry about wayward winds coming along and getting them to their next destination in the form of, a big third party title that's going to help them out. They don't have to worry about what Sony's going to do over on the other side if they're going to cut a deal for exclusivity of the next good game that's coming out from somewhere across the world. They don't have to worry or look over their shoulder all the time for that stuff. They now are going to be more focused in-house on what their first party can produce. That's a huge moment. And then on Mav's numbers a little bit that he talked about here, he's spot on. This is something that people don't talk about, but you are inheriting 400 million active monthly users. 400 million active monthly users on the Activision Blizzard side. Microsoft, Xbox, I should say, right now has about 120 million active users, some give or take. You're talking about almost three times the monthly active users. You are now inheriting that. That means more engagement. That means more people filtering into your ecosystem. That means a wide, brand new pool of people who will have easy access to joining Game Pass, who can be advertised to on a regular basis about your ecosystem on every single game that you now own as a first-party title. You can give benefits to entice people. This is massive. This moves the needle in the places that they have desperately wanted it to. That's why when we talk about historic on Xbox's side, Microsoft Corporation side, because of course Microsoft gains a ton here. If they get a foothold in that mobile space, if they get more power to the Azure servers by having more things actually hosted on the Azure servers, that just increases Microsoft Corp. But Xbox themselves, this is historic because this is going to make them the name that they already were. Don't get me wrong. Again, everybody knows Xbox, but this puts them in a power position. No longer are they the third position. No longer are they that's Xbox over there. We can skip them this time with this game. That goes away once they get this all integrated and they start building out their first party content where they're dropping 2 games per quarter, right? That we didn't even know about. Something crazy like that. That's what the roadmap's going to look like. And it doesn't even matter if anybody else takes notice because, again, they're insulated now. So that's really what it does. And then this shapes the industry going forward. We won't know ultimately the ripple effects of this deal. Obviously, this is going to cause more deals to happen. There was already going to be acquisitions no matter what, but this kind of massive deal with one of the world's biggest publishers is definitely going to cause more deals, and it's going to shape the industry. What that means 5, 10, 15 years from now, we're going to have to wait and see. But if this pushes more towards the cloud, if this pushes more digital, if this pushes that kind of stuff, those are the kind of ripple effects that this much IP content and leverage underneath one company can do. Again, it's not a monopoly. The industry, as Jeff Grubb pointed out on Twitter this week, we have almost 6,000 games yearly coming out. A bunch of people from Activision Blizzard who got a windfall of money from this deal are going to leave the company and go start their own studios. The next billion-dollar franchise, chances are going to come from a little unknown studio that we've never heard of before. That's because this industry is dynamic. So we're not talking about a monopoly. But we're talking about Xbox having to leverage underneath their own house to do whatever the hell they want to going forward. And that's something that they didn't necessarily have. They were building towards, but this deal, this triple-headed monster that they just got, puts them in the real position to be above it all right now. And I think that's the big point of this. We're going to look back. Again, Friday the 13th, for those of us that do care like this, we're going to look back and we're always going to remember this is ABK Day because of that fact. However this all turns out. However, even if Game Pass ultimately fails, it doesn't matter. We'll look back at this as ABK Day because of the simple fact of what it meant going forward to the industry and the potential that it had coming in. And again, $70 billion, biggest purchase in Microsoft history overall as a corporation. And like I said, I did that Wikipedia thing the other night, and it's about the 65th overall biggest deal ever in any industry in the history of them keeping track of it with inflation adjusted dollars. This is like the 65th biggest deal ever. That's in the gaming industry. None of us would have guessed that last generation. All of us would have laughed if you came to us and said that Microsoft was going to make the biggest acquisition in gaming history in 7 years from now or 5 years from now, even in 2017. 6 years from now, they're going to acquire the biggest publisher, one of the biggest third-party publishers in the world. None of us would have believed
right
it. That's
after they just acquired one of the other biggest.
Correct.
publishers in a row, right?
Right.
You got to throw some additional
Yeah,
sauce on top of
that's
that.
where the real
That's the
head
crazy
is,
part.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's where the
exactly. Yep.
within a 2-year span, they're like, God damn, they open up that checkbook for real, for real. But no,
Mhm.
I want to make sure we don't miss something as well too, because I don't think anybody mentioned it. Not that you or Mav or Pixel or anybody don't want to put emphasis on it,
Yeah.
but I think the big thing here too, and I don't think
Yeah.
anybody mentioned it yet too. We got to have the human element here
Oh yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Obviously,
No, I was waiting for you to
you
bring it
know,
up, PTK.
obviously,
Absolutely.
under the iron thumb over there that Bobby Kotick was running that place like his own personal fraternity house, pretty much running into the ground, not even including the business aspect, which has obviously been highlighted. The COD cycle, COD is everybody at the entire company's working on one game. Nobody's over there doing anything creative anymore. A lot of the games got stale. They're ignoring the people. They're ignoring their fan base that are asking for change. All these things needed to change, and this is the quickest way for it to happen. I told people don't like the fact that Bobby got a windfall. I don't give a shit. Give him his check and tell him to get out of there.
Facts.
Because imagine trying to get him out of there any other way. You realize how long in court it would have took to get him out of there had they tried to do it that way. Give
It
him
might
his
never have
money.
happened.
It might
Yeah.
give him his money
A
and get
court
him
wouldn't
out
have
of
helped
there.
because he wasn't indicted of anything. He's
Yeah,
not
he
under
wasn't
any
that
charges.
exactly.
There's-
Like
other than
it would-
people being upset about the way he ran his business.
exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly.
it's,
So
that's not
I
illegal.
mean, obviously, incorporating the human element, that's a big deal too, because this is obviously another way to clean house. And we talked about this, and I'm gonna throw this over to you for us to get this
Mhm.
this conversation started, because this is the next place that I want to go. Obviously, so what's the play at Activision? And once you give me your take on like your initial thought, what's the
Mhm.
play at Activision? You've been a big advocate. We got receipts here about Sarah, and what she's doing, and then Mikey Barr, what he's doing.
Yeah.
Was this some type of long play? Rod Ferguson's back. All of a sudden, everybody back. Everybody got the same parking spot all over again. Like they knew this was going to happen. Like all these coincidental things are happening. But just where you at with your initial reaction, then I want you to kind of get into, okay, like who's running things once the regime change happens.
Well, it all started with it being like a calm night and getting ready to head to bed because I gotta get up early for a podcast and on Friday morning, and kind of knew things were going on because of what Tom Warren had posted, and it's just a lot of buzz on the app, the X app or whatever. But just before heading to bed, saw that Mav was doing a podcast about it, and I was like, wait, what? Oh, it's over. And then I go to check my Schwab account and like, oh, okay, it's already halted. It's 94.54 or whatever it was. And later it all cleared and transferred those shares into just the cash amount or whatever. But yeah, it started calm and it just kept building and building the excitement.
Nice.
And once everything was official, we got to see that awesome welcome home video, and all the Xbox executives and Activision executives were making posts about it. It's like, oh yeah, this finally 20 months later, and it's the realization of it being like pretty much across the finish line is here. And while that's just, I guess, like I said earlier, like the end of one chapter and the beginning of a whole new story kind of thing, it just felt great that now that's all behind us, despite all the naysayers, like all the people out there that now have egg on their face about, oh, this deal is getting blocked. See what the CMA did, and it's like, you listen to the wrong ones out there, the wrong, I guess, social media lawyers or whatever, when the real lawyers or just people that were paying attention to how business works in general, and the fact of, money talks. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care what you say. If $1 trillion company wants something, it's going to get it one way or another. It might not be pretty in the process, but it happens. And it was just funny realizing that, a lot of those very vocal people that, on every occasion where there was a block or a delay or some sort of, slowdown of this process, they were out there marching in the streets. But, on the day when it crossed the finish line, it's like crickets, like they're nowhere to be heard. I mean, other than in that, 3-hour spaces where they were crying about stuff. But, we'll leave that alone. No, but in all seriousness, it's just awesome to see that this is finally cleared. And like you said, the human element of it, we've been talking about the unionization, clearing out some of the HR issues that they've had, giving them the benefits and giving them some of the freedoms that working under a company that has like a no crunch policy type of deal entails. So a lot of that is definitely going to help matters as far as morale and just the general environment or the workplace space itself. Now it's not going to make up for any of the or it's not going to make up for all of the shenanigans that happened beforehand, but I'm pretty sure it will definitely change moving forward in a very good direction. And hopefully a lot of those people that have been hanging in there for this to clear, continue to hang in there and reach a point where they can be recognized or at least do what they want as far as their job, or be able to do their job in peace and know that they have the support and the backing of their company to get these projects through and things like that without it being kind of like a sweatshop type of deal in some regards. But I guess the next big step, and I early on when they had the whole social HR or the HR thing was coming up and California was suing them, I was like, from a board member standpoint type of thing, I can't wait for them to kind of push Bobby out the door. Sure, he made them, billions of dollars, but at some point, the optics of the whole matter, I just knew that, they're probably going to be shopping around. And I said way back then, they're probably going to look for a highly qualified female candidate. And the two first that came to mind, because they kind of forced that one lady out that was like co-president of Blizzard with Mikey Barr because they wouldn't pay her the same amount as him, kind of thing. So I knew that was kind of a spoiled milk kind of deal, and she probably was going to just get as far away from that situation as possible. So the next two candidates I figure was either Jade Raymond or Sarah Bond. So, and I kept saying, I'm like, I could see them offering Sarah a hefty check to not stay with Xbox and kind of clean up house to some extent. And it'd probably work for Activision to its benefit, but not knowing that there was other things going behind the scenes where there was a deal on the table, and Phil being the shark he was, and kept them at $95 instead of the 105 or 100 whatever they were looking for. I still think she's probably the highest on the candidate list. Like, I could see Ibarra continuing to run Blizzard, but I just get the gut feeling, and I don't have physical evidence, but I just get the sense that there's some bad blood between him and Phil. So I don't think he's going to stick around long. And I got a new crazy notion that somehow he goes over to PlayStation, but that's another tea leaf for another time type of thing. But I think that there will be some internal promoting as far as some of their C-level executives moving up once Bobby's finished out for the rest of the year, kind of thing. And him finishing out for the rest of the year as opposed to the April that his contract states is a good step in the right direction, kind of thing. I mean, you kind of need him there to kind of not necessarily show whoever is going to take over the ropes, but that transition period, a lot of times there's some T's that need to be crossed and some I's that need to be dotted, and he's going to be the best point man at that point for some of that stuff. So, but at least the fact that he's finished off at the end of the year and then he's gone is a good step. But I think Sarah's the next one up. I know a lot of people would prefer to run Xbox as like Phil's old position.
Replacement.
Phil moves up more into like the Microsoft gaming aspect of things, but I think her kind of bringing I guess not just the HR stuff, within, keeping it in the ranks kind of thing, as far as that's concerned. I think overall her spirit of getting the teams to work together, getting the teams to look at what they have as far as their IP catalog and bringing what makes sense forward. I think she's going to be good at that and make it where they will be a rejuvenated company and hit the ground running a lot sooner. But I'm just happy that this is where it's at right now, and we can kind of start speculating on who's next,
Yeah.
whether it be Sega or some of the smaller devs out there that they need to scoop up, like Crystal Dynamics and things like that. But man, it's just awesome to see that this deal's closed, despite the pissing and moaning the CMA did to kind of make it look like it was Microsoft's fault to some extent, when all along it was them. They were the oddballs for listening to the FTC over here. But it is what it is. I just hope from this point moving forward, they don't have to go through this same struggle for whatever next acquisition they look to make. And moving forward, I hope we see, and I'm trying to be as realistic and grounded as I can on this. I hope we see 3 new IPs before the end of this generation out of this deal. Because anything more, I think, might be a bit of a stretch. I know that they're going to definitely be leaned on for the beginning of next gen. But for this gen, if we can get 3 new IPs out of the deal, I'll be more than happy. I mean, I'll be more than happy with Call of Duty going into Game Pass and a few other Activision IPs going into Game Pass, here fairly soon. But if we can get 3 new IPs between now and the end of this current gen, yeah, this is above and beyond, like, the whipped cream and cherry on top type of deal that we've been asking for, Microsoft or Xbox to get the backing of Microsoft all this time, and they definitely came through on this. So there's no doubt on that.
Awesome. So I want to swing this back and kind of open the panel up and just kind of get it kind of some rapid fire here too. And shout out to everybody in chat. Appreciate the over 90 people in chat. Once again, man, hit the like button on your way in. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live. So we're going to rapid fire here, man. So I kind of posed the question already, and we'll probably start with you on this one, Mav. You being a guest and everything, you and Pixel, about like who's taking that leadership position over there at Blizzard, at Activision. Like, any candidates for you, Mav? Anybody you had thought about?
I did think about Sarah Bond for a while, and I kind of agree with Fuzzy. The only hesitancy I have with that is she's been killing it in her role as a deal maker with partnerships and stuff like that, with traveling and all these things that she's been doing. So I would hate to see that go to somebody else and her not be doing what she's been doing. Like, in a way, I want her to just keep going. Just keep going and do what you've been doing. Maybe get a promotion from within there. But I think Activision Blizzard is going to take such a focus, right? Such a focus that the other things might suffer at that point. For her aspect, I kind of hope she just promotes up from where she is now and doesn't necessarily go to ABK. But she would do a good job at it, I believe, right? I just don't trust whoever else would take her place in doing the same thing she's doing now. So
Mike would just kind of stay.
Mike Ibarra would be an interesting choice. I think that would probably be one of the most natural choices, right? Because he's already been a high up with the Xbox. He understands them very well, right?
I don't know what the relationship is like, to be fair.
That's
the only sketchy thing.
Right. But, what I learned from you guys on Xbox Ultimate the last night was like Ibarra had a big part in Game Pass, right? It was kind of his brainchild, right?
Yep.
So he understands the Xbox side very well. He's already been at Activision Blizzard for a while now. And maybe he seems to be somewhat excited about this, for ABK. So maybe this is the olive branch to restore that potential lost relationship there, and be the face of Activision Blizzard for Microsoft would be a huge thing for him, and that would be a good way to go. Besides that, like, it's hard to think about who it could be, and you got to look at more of like somebody who's had a distribution experience and like
I don't know though,
executive experience and all these kind of things, like, as opposed to just like a developer,
Jim Ryan.
Oh my god,
he's available.
I knew he was gonna sneak into this damn show somehow.
I'm telling you.
I mean,
a twist of fate.
I tell you, who would be a dream would be Peter Moore. That would be amazing.
You think he would take that? You think he would
I
take
don't
that?
think he
offer?
would.
No,
I don't
I
know.
don't
He's
think he would.
He's living the dream
yeah,
as
he's too
as,
busy
as
running
a
soccer
soccer team,
a
right?
football
Like,
team.
a
Excuse
football
me. Sorry,
team, yeah.
football
Say,
team. my
say
bad.
Peter, we'll give you anything you want. We'll buy you an island. I don't know. That would be a dream. It's not. I agree completely. It's like less than less than 0.00001% chance that would ever happen.
You know who would be interesting, Mav? And this just hit me right now. You know,
Yep.
it'd be really interesting. It would fuck
think
everything.
I
up.
think you know where you're
You know what I'm
going.
talking about?
think I know where you're
No, go ahead, Paul.
No. You say because you brought it up. Go ahead.
Bonnie Ross.
I said that.
no,
I
no.
said that this morning. I said that this morning on Living Split Screen. By the way, as my dark horse. Anyways, go ahead.
Not Bonnie Ross. Sean Layden.
Yep. I knew you were going there. I knew
that
you were
would
going
be
there.
really interesting. Yeah,
Ooh,
go ahead,
man.
man.
You know, it was
would be
fun.
interesting.
How about Jack Tritton?
Yep.
Poaching
Isn't he kind of a
Sony,
money guy though?
poaching
Isn't he
Sony
isn't he a
execs.
dollars and cents guy.
That's an
Yeah,
interesting thing.
the
Yeah.
thing
Why
is-
not Pixelbit? Why not? Right at this point.
I mean, I mean, that would be interesting, right? But based on their current org chart, I kind of think Mike is the guy who would if he's staying.
Yes.
It's gonna be Mike. I would think if he's staying, it's gonna be Mike, right? Like because he is the next in line. He's the current president of Blizzard Entertainment, right? And he's a face man, and he already has Microsoft connections, and he wouldn't be immediately disliked by everyone within the organization if he came in from an outside business, right? So
That's not the fun answer though, Pixel.
I know, but
See-
part of the limited integration,
Yeah,
right,
you're
is I know that people are expecting them to do a huge shakeup.
No, I
I'm
know,
really
I know.
surprised to see Bobby leave immediately. Like I'm surprised. I figured he'd stay like 6 months. So for him to go fast that's a lot. I mean, they're moving fast. So do you take somebody like Sarah and move her into that position? I don't know when you got Mike sitting there. So
Yeah.
if
I
the
agree, man.
prior relationship with Mike soured at Xbox because he was not pushed forward, then you don't do it again, right? I mean, I'm just saying, right?
Yeah, it's makeup too, right?
No, that makes sense.
You fix her wrong, and
Yeah,
it just depends on. It
I
would
just
depend.
say that as somebody who has worked in corporations, did my thing, got slighted, and you do
It
not.
depends on your ego,
Yeah.
right? Pixelbit. At the end of the day, it depends on Yabar's ego and if it lets him do something like that, or if he holds that grudge. And says, no,
right.
Yeah.
So I mean, you don't want to lose all your top talent. So I would say you if you're gonna put her or anybody from the Xbox organization into Activision, you put them in one of those, like a president position, not at the CEO, right? You either pick somebody totally from left field, like you're saying, poaching from Sony. That's left field, and that would be interesting. Like those are, Sean would be an interesting pick, but Sean isn't, at least his prior exploits say that he's not somebody who's interested in like the Game Pass subscription model.
The thing exactly. That's
so
like the thing about Sean, he doesn't believe. You got to have somebody that believes.
So you got to have somebody who believes in the
I get
vision of the company. So I hate to be that guy, but I mean just looking at like the current setup of the company, you either want to. I would think you would promote from within. To fill that role so that you at least get everybody in line. Like, okay, well, Mike's one of our guys, right? Because part of companies merging is there's animosity with some groups, right? Some people are gonna get cut. There's gonna be some shakeups at the top,
redundancy.
Right? And because of redundancy, right? But because they still need to keep that publishing arm and it needs to be strong and independent, but on the same token, because of the reason that they got here, right? All the nonsense that was going on in the company, they do have to do some shakeups. So it's an interesting it's interesting, and Sarah being a take is that would be awesome. I would love to see her in that position, but I kind of feel like whatever you do on her path, if she's being groomed to be Phil 3.0, then keep her in a position, grow her position so that it extends across both companies or something like that, right? So set up another position at the top level that helps to oversee the 3, right? I think that's more of that may be a better kind of position, right? Because now, you're gonna need that expansion for Game Pass for everybody, right? For all of the publishing
Yeah.
arms.
I,
Right? So now they
I
have
got
3 of them. So
I got a crazy one.
who you
I
got?
got a crazy one. Okay.
Me, I'll take
What-
the job. Let me get
What
that.
what if you go? What if you go to Vince Zampella and steal him away from EA?
Man, I don't know if there's a check big
Whoa.
enough, bro. You got to back up the
all
Brinks
of
truck.
Activision. No, hey, this would be a huge promotion for him, right? I mean, he would be on top of all Activision Blizzard. He would get Call of Duty back. Are you kidding? He'd
You
be
gonna
in
bring
charge of
a
all of Call of
now
Duty.
see
Oh my god,
that's a gangster move, right? Because
No, it is.
he
That's
is
damn
a
right.
known commodity in that building, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that's not an outside force, right? That's like bringing an OG home. So that would be
be
crazy.
crazy.
That would be crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I like that a lot,
I
Maverick.
like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. But let's get Pong to chime in on this as well too, because obviously this is a huge deal. We've talked about this, Pong, many times here at the Shop Podcast about leadership and who's taking over, and a lot of great points were made tonight. I made some emotional choices about who I thought maybe, and I didn't really consider all of the integration and the fit quite so. You know what I mean? So I know you're a bit more of a critical thinker when it comes to this kind of stuff, but I'm a bit jumping off the porch with it. But
Really.
I mean, you are Speculation Town's mayor, so maybe I'm a little off base.
Yeah,
with that,
I'm saying.
I know, right? Reggie,
Let's
right?
get
Reggie,
some of that pie in the sky.
Get
Pull up
Reggie.
Reggie.
He's a
Reggie
man.
out.
Yeah, Reggie. Yeah.
Go ahead, Paul.
Talked about this quite a bit, and Sarah Bond makes a lot of sense for all the reasons that Fuzzy said, for everything that everybody wants to bring up, right? She'd be a huge PR win, putting her in that position for all the reasons that everybody's aware of. She would be a huge PR win, just overall. What I said this morning on Living Split Screen would be that it would be real world experience for her to take over Phil's position eventually by putting her there, right? She's learning a lot behind Phil right now. If she's truly the heir to the throne, right? Microsoft CEO of Microsoft Gaming, if she is the heir to that throne, and that's what they're grooming her for and priming her for, she's learning a lot behind Phil, and she's learning like step by step kind of the top end business stuff that happens through Xbox, right? That's why they
Paul.
Yeah, go ahead.
Quick question: are we all sold on her being groomed as Phil's backup?
Are
we all on board?
I am.
I am 100%.
Yeah,
Big
I think
Sue,
the way they
you
push
on
her
the chat, you guys on board with that
she's-
too, chat?
She's so heavily involved in
Okay.
everything at
I
this
just
point.
I just want to make sure we is all going the same direction.
The Game Pass isn't where it's at without her, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's not actually why I don't want her to get the ABK job, because I feel like that limits her focus more. So you know what I mean? Like,
right. You'd have to trust, Mav, that she's also got people underneath her that she's been bringing along too, right? For that eventuality. So you do have to kind of trust in the chain, right? And you got to hope that you've done your job. But like I was saying, it would give her real world experience running something like Activision, right? That would absolutely be, a huge boon if they were going to eventually put her in Phil's spot to get that. And obviously communication wise, all that kind of stuff, that's, natural between her and Phil now. So that's all there. Like all that, there's a ton of benefits to do that. My point this morning was, if she is the heir to the throne, then what you're winding up doing is putting her into that position, and then you're going to wind up in a spot. Let's say Phil launches next gen and he gets that opening, he does the opening year of next gen and then steps away. And then Sarah's got to come back to take over CEO of Microsoft Gaming. Now you've got to find another replacement for Sarah over there. Whereas you can my point was this morning, you leave her where she's at, continue to let her learn the ropes, continue to let her go and excel at what she's doing right now, which is what Mav brought up, going and making these deals, especially in the East and everywhere else, flying everywhere, being kind of the face, the head sales person, right? The head salesman out there, just putting her face out there. Everybody knows who she is. Let her continue to do that. Let her continue to learn underneath Phil. And then you get somebody permanent that's going to be at Activision for a long time, taking over that head role. And I think for me, that is Ybarra. And why Ybarra, and again, this is going to all depend on where he is ego-wise, if that bad blood still exists, whether or not he is going to hold that grudge, whatever the case may be. If he felt slighted at one time, as I was saying when I jumped in on Pixelbit a little bit, is this is how you make it up to him. You give him another big jump. He already made one big jump when they put him in charge over there. And then the lady, I do forget her name, I apologize, but when she left and he wound up becoming the kind of the sole head over there, but he's already proven that he can do that. Blizzard's done some really good moves. They've cleaned up a lot of garbage underneath Mike Ybarra. They've been making some very strategic moves when it comes to World of Warcraft. They seem to be getting their stuff together again. So Ybarra's already kind of proved himself, but you get him in there. Him and Sarah are both younger, right? They are both in the perfect age to move in those positions. You put Ybarra there, he already knows both Microsoft and Activision from the ground up. He knows both companies internally. What a better person could you have for a transition like this
very good point.
than Mike Ybarra?
And that's invaluable. You can't really teach that at all.
It is. Yeah. It is. On top of, he's going to know what cleaning still has to be done, because make no mistake, they've done a lot of in-house cleaning over there. Microsoft is going to do more in-house cleaning. He's going to have the names of the people that are problems, that could potentially be problems. He can also help you in that, in cleaning the house and getting your HR in line as well. He's a known person amongst all, the Blizzard people, but obviously everybody, Activision Blizzard. He's already a face of their company. People know who he is. You get him in that role. He knows how Phil thinks and how Phil communicates and what kind of Phil's philosophy is. They're going to start to implement and try to change the culture within Activision, Blizzard, and King to mimic Microsoft's inside, obviously, culture. And Mike Ybarra knows what that is firsthand. He can help there immensely. So I think Ybarra just makes natural sense. And then, like I said, then Ybarra, and you get him getting used to communicating with Sarah, who's underneath Phil. Obviously, they'll be in communication about stuff from time to time. You get them used to each other, working together, building that relationship. So then when Sarah takes over the throne, now you have two younger people as the heads of two of the world's largest gaming companies, right? Who now know each other and can work together. And again, you keep a talent like Ybarra around by making him happy, by making up for whatever slight he felt happened back in the day. If his ego allows it to happen, you give him that position, you give him the bump, you put him in charge. It's a big position. And I think everybody walks away winners and happy. And I think it would just be a natural move at this point to do so. Yeah. Like I said, I like everybody else's ideas. If you're going to go outside, go big. Bring somebody in who is going to command respect, even if they have not been a part of that company. Somebody whose character is unquestionable. Because that's who you need in that position to take over right now after you try to air out the windows from the Bobby Kotick stink, right? You're gonna need somebody with a positive, uplifting, character-driven type of attitude when they walk in there.
Are there candidates out there though?
There's not.
I'm really thinking
because this is a big position.
Fuzz, like
it's a big
I can't
position.
really think of anybody that, like, I mean, you said Peter Moore, that he absolutely makes sense. Yes. But like you said, he's off doing other shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? So he's doing his side quest right now. He's not interested in any of that other
I'll
stuff.
tell you, whoever does take charge is going to want to fumigate that office.
Absolutely. Man, it's going to be ridiculous. But yeah, I think you're going to have to. And there's going to be people that maybe we haven't heard of, right? In the industry are known in the industry and other, publishers that we just haven't necessarily heard of. They're not like a big face or anything like that.
What does Lulu do with Activision?
Lulu's communications manager. She's not yet. I said this morning, you keep Lulu. Like Satya needs to make that move for the corporation, because as a face of a corporation, as a communications manager, love her or hate her, I don't care. The fact is, she knows how, she's effective and she knows how to talk to the masses in a regular way that is appealing, which is hard to come by. You can say, well, that's her job. She's a communications manager. Listen, go look at some of the corporate Twitter accounts out there, okay? They don't know how to do this stuff.
Yeah, she is skilled at the craft.
She
Absolutely.
She understands memes, she understands gifs, she understands culture, she understands all of that, and she can speak it. So she is highly effective. Keep Lulu, Satya. Keep Lulu. She's an asset to your corporation. Bring her underneath Microsoft umbrella for sure. Anyways, back to what I was saying. I think they could go outside. I think they could, tag some people that maybe we haven't heard of that have been running publishers, or in maybe in the second seat at certain publishers that we just haven't heard about, but that obviously Phil or Booty or somebody knows personally, because these guys have been in industry for so long that they feel would fill that role and could fill that role. And maybe they'll tap somebody like that and we'll be like, oh my God, who's this? What is this guy? What's this person done? But I think right now, as it stands, my money would be on Ybarra. I think there's benefits for Bond, and I think that she would do an absolutely fantastic job. There's zero question. I know some people don't think that she has the qualities. I think she does. But I just think Ybarra is the natural fit if he's willing to take it, if he's willing to do it. I think it'd just be great for both companies to have him in that place.
Awesome. Anybody want to elaborate on that? Because, like I said, that could go a lot of ways, and leadership is important. And obviously, Ibarra makes the most sense just from a integration standpoint. He's already been at both places. He's already familiar with both places' policies. He already knows people personally at both places. He's been there with Bobby through all of that mess. You know what I mean? For at least for the last third of it, right? Other mess that was going over there. He's been through that. He's familiar. He's already ingrained with the culture over there, Blizzard Activision. He's been a big, huge advocate for the change, for the unions, things like that over there. So he's a people person, right? I'm sure the people already respect him over there at Blizzard. So yeah, that's a huge deal. And I kind of want to pose another question. Obviously, we talking all ABK people. Shout out to everybody in chat. Appreciate all you lovely people. I will get to these super chats here, and shout out to everybody who supporting that way as well too. Super chats are amazing. We love those here too at the Shop Podcast. So I do want to pose another question, and then we'll go rapid fire with questions, and we'll just kind of open mic it and just kind of bounce off the wall because there's so much to really talk about. But I do want to pose another question, and we'll probably start with you on this one, Pixel. Just like we talked about games, and obviously this is the big thing here, right? Like we getting back to games because we got over the politics, the ink is dry, all of that's out of the way. Let's get to the game side of this, right, Pixel? What games are in the vault for you, man? What's kind of like your pie in the sky Activision vault game that you would love to see come back?
Oh, it's definitely StarCraft all day, but not just.
Thank you.
So there was a time when StarCraft was so hot. They had their StarCraft Ghost coming. They were doing the 3D thing. They were trying to create a single character out of a single player game out of the Ghost character, which is I guess it was a take on Kerrigan, who is becomes the Queen of Blades and all that other good stuff, right? So there's great storyline in the StarCraft universe, and they were trying to expand on that, right? And then it just stopped, right? So it would be nice to see Blizzard return to that, that world of creating an RTS, as well as maybe picking up the Ghost concept again and turning into a action adventure game in that universe, because it's a dope universe, So it would be nice to see them bring that back and actually take real attention and time with it, because it's those kind of they. I think it was Warcraft that kind of cannibalized everything initially for Blizzard, right? Where they they used to produce many things, and then Warcraft got hot, and all of a sudden everything just disappeared from Blizzard's catalog, right? So this working in a bigger organization that has so many other studios will hopefully be an opportunity for them to take a great IP like that and bring it out, right? Because a lot of the IPs that we love have little hints of other IPs in it, right? So you look at Gears of War and they're big bulky guys, and and all I see is those are just StarCraft Marines, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to see that extended, because it's a great universe.
Okay, I love that choice. In chat, looks like chat. Let me know what IP do you guys want coming out of the vault at Activision, Blizzard, King, either of the three. What IP do you guys want revived? So I guess I'll go before I let Mav go. So this one in particular is a game that like it's kind of one of them games that like you think about, it comes up here and there, but you got to really be like a fan of it. And I'm talking about Prototype. So I love Prototype to come back in some way, shape, or form. I can just imagine that game being made with the technology, the engines. We're talking about, you talk about Spider-Man 2. Look at Prototype, right? Like the movement, being able to run up buildings, the combat, the air combat, finishers. You had gore, you had a little bit of everything. You had a storyline. I mean, the storyline wasn't the highlight of the game, right? I think if we being honest, that wasn't a highlight. There were some memorable characters, like the main character, but ultimately it was just the combat, the ability, the semi-open world, the city, the destruction, all of that stuff was really cool. And just seeing that, in a new engine, right? Like allowing somebody to take that and run with it. I do. StarCraft is big too. StarCraft was big when I was in high school. Great PC community, right? So that'll be a big deal for PC as well. So, Matt, we're gonna throw this over to you, bro. What game you want revived, man?
StarCraft.
You want StarCraft? Okay. See, look.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Two people already StarCraft, and I didn't even think about this as well. It's quiet as kept. We're in a renaissance for RTSs. Like if we really look at, and
yes,
Pong,
we
you
are.
said this. I'll give Pong his credit. Pong, I gotta give you flowers on this one, Pong. You said this for like 18 months now that we're in the renaissance for RTSs. So that's just an extension. It could be an extension of that. StarCraft would be huge.
Think about the RTS mashup too, Mav and
oh my God,
Pixel.
yes.
Think about how with all the IP they have, they could make this huge giant RTS with Gears, Halo. You could have a Call of Duty faction, bro. You could have 10 to 15 factions
all in there.
Yes,
all in there.
Yes,
I've been calling that for years.
I know, bro. We've been talking about, but I was just saying after ABK now,
RTS
listen,
faction mashup.
Yes,
all right,
yo,
I can rock with that.
Oh
I can rock
my
with
God.
that. That's better than KI mashup. Yeah, I can rock with that. No doubt. Yes.
That would be a dream game.
Oh, it would be.
If it happened. And the thing that's interesting about the RTS side too is like, you look at like a game like Halo Wars, right? And this actually opens the opportunity for that too. So in a weird way, I'll say Halo Wars and StarCraft, even though Halo Wars is not Activision Blizzard. But I want them to.
It could
use
be.
that.
That you make a great point. There's no reason why it couldn't be.
Yeah, that's true.
It even is based on, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you, but it's based on the same principles. That whole rushdown style they use for StarCraft kind of games is basically what they did for Halo Wars.
Yeah,
the same concept.
They got the talent there in house now to be able to work there. And yeah, they had. I mean, yes, they have World's Edge and stuff, but like they've usually gotten assistance from like Creative Assembly or
well, they're gonna own them pretty soon too,
Mav. So yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah, they're on the grocery list, right?
Don't get me started.
You saw the grocery list.
Well, yeah, Sega. I mean, it's gonna. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. So there's StarCraft. I just like is a special franchise. And I think when I brought up earlier, we were talking about like possibilities and stuff of what we think they're going to do. Like, I think StarCraft is honestly already in the works because they've already kind of hinted at that before Ibarra has on Twitter and stuff. So I think that's already happening. But when you establish StarCraft coming back, that allows for other games to spin off of StarCraft again, right? You could have StarCraft Ghost or these other things that you had thought about doing before, but never really done because you were so focused on having to do the things you were doing at the time. So now they bring back StarCraft. You can have other spin-offs on that kind of stuff. But I'm going to throw another one out there.
Okay, what you got, man? What you got?
Warcraft. Same family.
Another. Yes,
see, look,
let's go.
This is what I thought you was going to throw a curveball, man.
Going back to the root.
This one I thought you was going to throw a curveball.
That's right. Yeah, let's go.
Yep.
Like, I mean, one of the fathers of RTS, like what World of Warcraft and all this stuff is based on. Bring back the granddaddy. You've already seen that Xbox is willing to do multiple games in the same genre and stuff for sure. And why not? Warcraft, StarCraft. I don't give a shit else what they make. Just bring those two games back, and I'm good. That's it.
Facts. I love it. That's 2-0 StarCraft already. We got two people, both guests, chat. already on the StarCraft.
Yeah,
Channel.
and
I saw a lot
Chris
of
Jones
people-
in chat just said
Yeah.
he already said it. So
Yep.
give Ms.
Oh, yeah,
props.
for sure.
I didn't see it, Chris, so it doesn't count.
So
I'm giving
I
it
wanna-
to you anyway, Chris. It's all right.
before we get to everybody else's Pong Fuzz, I do want to throw this idea out there because I saw a chat talking about it a little bit, and it is interesting. People talking about Sekiro because it is interesting because that's not really, they don't own, Activision just own the publishing rights in the West. So, so they didn't own the actual IP or game itself. That is from Soft, but I don't know how game is from Soft to allow Microsoft to say, "Hey, you want to do another one of these just for us?"
Mhm.
I mean, it was in
we got
the
open
trailer.
mic.
The
I mean,
welcome
it
home
was.
trailer.
I mean, anybody want to jump on that? I don't know.
I mean,
I'm hoping it makes it to Game Pass here soon because it was one of those that I kind of expected with it being the game of the year a couple of years ago to make it into Game Pass, but I don't know. It just felt weird that it didn't make it, especially when there was the rumors about Elden Ring being a for Xbox having the marketing rights, and then that kind of looked like it fell apart or something. So I'm hoping it's one of those things where they could possibly get an exclusive deal on that. Maybe next go around, make a Sekiro 2 kind of deal. But we'll see.
How crazy would it be, guys, if Microsoft goes to From and they get a Sekiro 2 exclusive to the ecosystem before PlayStation goes and gets another Bloodborne for their fans? How crazy would that be? How insane would the Bloodborne fans get? They have been clamoring for even a remaster of Bloodborne, and they can't even get that. And all of a sudden, Microsoft walks in and gets Sekiro 2 for their ecosystem. Oh my God.
How about this, Pong? Just buy From Software. Who
That
cares?
too.
Just
there
go.
you go.
Like, let's go.
There
you know,
you go.
then you have your mech game back franchise. You put them on.
Sure.
all that.
Bandai Namco and From Software together. Just package deal. Get them both. Let's go.
I would put good money on anything we saw in that video coming to fruition. The Game Pass.
Yeah, I mean, they can't really show that stuff without.
Yeah, like they're not dumb. Like they didn't.
I mean,
they didn't mash that video up.
No,
right.
With those particular images for no particular reason.
And StarCraft was in there, Pixel.
Yeah, StarCraft
exactly.
was definitely in there.
Those things. Well, the StarCraft you already know that's going to come into Game Pass PC. You know, it's the future of StarCraft that we're clamoring over. But I think any of those games, in that trailer should be considered for things that they will look to bring forward. But at the very least, you'll see them in Game Pass and you'll see them in back and back.
Sekiro is very interesting though, Pixel, right? It is because it's an interesting situation with From and that whole situation where they're at, and they had a lot of success. Shout out to Armor Core. I think it did 2.8 mil. So shout out to Armor Core. People's biggest launch ever for that game, by far the biggest sales for that game, not even close. So From Software, essentially they did it again, right? So I think we can all give them their round of applause for knocking that out the park. But that's Sekiro is funny because Game Pass makes sense, like you said, a second one exclusive though. I don't know, man. Do you throw the money at that?
Mm-hmm. For Game of the Year? That was Game of the Year.
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, it was.
yeah, you do. Yeah, absolutely, 1000% you do, for sure.
Although IGN will just give it a 7 out of 10. So.
Yeah.
They'll say, one of the best games I've ever played, but it is hard. 7 out of 10.
Right.
Terrible. So I kind of want to open. Oh no, actually, we got to get to Fuzz and Pong.
Yeah.
So go ahead, guys. I'm sorry. We'll start with you, Pong.
Yeah. No. I've said this. I mean, obviously, I'm StarCraft. So I mean, again,
but
to be different, right?
For the count's sake.
To be different, I'll bring up the one that I brought up when this first went down and what I thought would be awesome, but nobody's mentioned the name from the corporate side. So this is probably never going to happen, but I hope they look at it. I hope Phil, now that it's all complete, he looks at the catalog and earmarks this one. And that's True Crime. True Crime. Man, it would be gigantic for a lot of different reasons. It doesn't have to be the GTA clone. Obviously it can be an alternative to GTA from a different perspective, because obviously for anybody who didn't play True Crime, you were playing basically on an undercover cop, right? In True Crime. But they could go the dirty undercover cop route. They could go all different directions, and it wouldn't even have to be the level of GTA. It could be a smaller open world than even GTA is, obviously, because GTA is crazy. But what I'm saying is you bring that back as an exclusive and you give it the budget that it deserves. Now that we've lost, now that GTA is so gigantic, right? We've lost Saints Row. Right. Sleeping Dogs was supposed to be the next True Crime. It turned into Sleeping Dogs. Sleeping Dogs, highly underrated games. Got the FPS boost and the up-res. It's gorgeous.
Amazing
it's fun.
game.
It's an amazing game. Always on sale for $5. If you have not picked it up to add it to your library, do it. It's worth it. But
it's probably in my top 10 games of all time. Probably in my top.
Wow, that's pretty high up. But Sleeping Dogs is amazing. But if they gave us that kind of an experience underneath the True Crime as an exclusive, that they found the right studio to bring that franchise back, I think you got a winner. I think you got something that people would gravitate towards, something that we don't see a lot of. Again, Saints Row is pretty much all but dead at this point. And that was kind of the alternative to GTA. But yeah, I would love to see True Crime. Obviously, there's plenty of other ones in this list, but it's just to be different from StarCraft. I would say True Crime is my one that I did bring up originally, and I'm still on it. I would love to see that happen.
Yeah, and I think like you said, there has to be something said about that lane as well. We don't get a lot of those games. You said
because
Saints Row
GTA
really was
sucks the energy out of everything,
really,
right?
It's tough. People talk about Pokemon being like a game where you really can't fit anything in. GTA is in the same position Pokemon's, and you can't really fit another game, GTA-like game in that space, bro. It just doesn't. It can't exist next to GTA, bro. It's just it doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like it zaps the energy out of everything around it. So you got to be a little bit different. True Crime is different enough, and once again, go play that game, bro. Go play the game if you have not gotten a chance to play it. I think it was BC for is it BC or
True Crimes are not? Our True Crimes are no.
Did they not? Did they not get the BC?
I'm thinking Sleeping Dogs. No.
Sleeping Dogs is what you're gonna. If you play Sleeping Dogs, it's basically True Crime just set in the East. It's basically the same experience. It's just underneath a different name. Go play it. It's freaking awesome.
It's amazing,
the combat is absolutely so much fun. The soundtrack, everything. Yes.
The vehicles, the story, characters, so memorable.
The fact that you could put people in the trunk.
And that was so good, bro. So good, bro.
So they're facing to the fan.
Shout out to the 100+ people here in chat, man. I appreciate you guys coming through, man. Hit the like button, man. Appreciate you guys showing support. It is a big show, man. Shout out to everybody coming out, man. You guys are showing up, showing out, showing love and support. So appreciate all of you guys in the chat, over the 100 people that are here rocking out with us. But go ahead, Fuzz. I know you didn't get a chance to get your bars off, brother.
Oh, yeah. Well, everybody said good ones, and I was leaning more towards the True Crimes and possibly see if they can't get that license for Sleeping Dogs. I know it's like a writer and producer.
Ain't something weird going on with that? Isn't there some weird situation with that license?
Yeah, I think it's like, isn't it owned by Square or something? But they have the writer of it they couldn't agree upon something on a future contract, so the concept is owned by somebody. The name is owned by Square.
The game industry and their contracts, I swear to Christ, I don't know what they were doing back in the day. I heard somebody describe it, somebody that was in the industry describe it as they used to write them on napkins. Like that's how informal these contracts were, bro. Like it just doesn't make any sense how many licensing problems we have.
So Square, KT, shout out to KT. He said Square got it. So I guess Square has the actual okay.
Mm-hmm. But I would say reach out to Square.
That's all right.
Well, yeah, they could either buy Square or at least now that they're supposedly on like these good terms, I would say do us a solid and give us that license for this next True Crimes, and we'll do a Sleeping Dogs 2 or however you want to call it.
True Crime Sleeping Dogs. Let's go.
Yeah, I think that's the main one. But me being the racer I am, I got to say Blur. Just for the fact that I know there's a lot of people out there that want a kart racer using like Xbox IP characters. I say give them real cars. You can have the IP characters as the drivers. They could be cartoons or the actual characters that we know, or have it where we can use our Xbox avatars as, our drivers in the car. But like Blur was that Forza Horizon look, back then, but like with Mario Kart, gameplay kind of thing to some extent. And I think you can make that work in like an off year for Horizon. Like you now have Motorsport and it's going to be a platform. A year or two from now, you'll probably have Horizon 6. Something like Blur could be like that in between kind of
Blur's
like
a good
gap
one.
along with the support you're doing for Horizon and Motorsport. So I think doing something along those lines would be kind of cool. For as far as like StarCraft, I definitely want to hear more about StarCraft or Ghost as far as the third person's perspective one. Like that, I think like everybody is jazzed about like Starfield, and I think that's going to get a lot of people on the sci-fi kick in general. And the next big title to be waiting for would be Mass Effect. Why not, continue on that same lines with like a third person perspective game for that, and make that a whole new franchise, or not new franchise, but like a spin-off in the series, and go from there kind of thing. Because I think there's room for it, and definitely a solid interest in that genre. So those would be the things that I would like to see. But yeah,
But Fuzzy, I got a
Blur,
question about Blur.
yeah.
Like, do you because Bizarre Creations, and on my stream earlier, John TJ was talking about this too, and it kind of had me
Mhm,
thinking because Bizarre Creations was the original developer, right? And
mhm.
they fizzled out. A lot of that team went to Playground, and then some of those guys even left to form their own studios now. But like with Playground being busy on Fable and also probably the next Forza Horizon, like do you think Activision Blizzard has the developers internally to bring back Blur, or would that be something they would have to go to somebody else for?
I think they could probably do a smaller spin-off team. I'm not sure if it would be off of like one of their support studios along with Toys for Bob or Knox, or actually now with Knox being that having that Montreal spin-off studio. I wouldn't be surprised if you could convince either some of the Playground guys that either left or some that are still there that are solely focused on the Horizon series as opposed to Fable to kind of partner up on that on like an off season year. Like I'm
Mhm,
under the impression like the ones that do the continued support versus the main project building of the game are split into two different types of teams. So I would say if once Horizon 6 is done, instead of hopping right on for Horizon 7 and then having that the normal split off team that does the support, have them, lend a hand with Blur or something along those lines kind of thing. But yeah, it's going to get a bit tricky where you're going to have to figure out what personnel are doing this stuff. But I think now they have so many teams across all three, kind of divisions, let's say. I
mhm,
think you could probably do a lot more like teamwork type of things. Like we've heard about Coalition working with other teams like Undead Labs and things like that, and what do you call them? Rare working with like Playground Games and a few other teams on other things. I would say that's probably a strong suit that Microsoft is going to continue to lean, not really lean on, but continue to do moving forward, and have
mhm,
some of these teams kind of like split off. All right, work with this team, or maybe even like in some of that restructuring that we see. Um, some of those named studios can actually break off and be like, hey, Raven is no longer associated with Call of Duty. The ones within Raven that want to stay with Call of Duty have gone to Treyarch or Interscope or something like that, while Raven is now comprised of those that wanted to focus on like the IPs like what do you call it? Prototype or something along those lines. So, but we'll see how they all situate that stuff later. But man, there's just so many good IPs they can bring back.
Flexibility.
I'd almost tap Sumo for Blur. Go
Sumo.
get Sumo.
Mm,
Yeah, go get
yeah,
Sumo Digital and tap
yeah,
That
them.
because
would
they've
be a good
helped with
choice. Yeah.
four, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, they've helped
Horizon
out with
Yeah.
Forzas before in the past. They made the Sonic Racers game and stuff. I think they'd be a good one for Blur if you couldn't
That's a
find it in
really good
house.
choice, phone.
Yeah.
That's a
Speaking
really good choice.
speaking of though, do you go and get who is it that made the Crash racing games? Is it Toys for Bob,
Did they make a
or
crash?
is it Beanox, or
I'm not
I?
100%.
But do you go whoever it is? regardless, do you just go to them and then immediately task them with making the ultimate Xbox kart racer?
Everybody wants it.
Everybody
It should
wants that,
definitely
man. I
be
don't
high on
know.
the list, unless they got some like killer idea. Like I like the fact that Phil is about like the passion project stuff, even if it may not land as well as hoped, like a bleeding edge kind of thing. But then again, you got grounded that worked out. So I would say, yeah, tap them on the shoulder. But if they got a passion project that they feel even stronger about,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah, I think
have
it's
at
more
it,
of an
like,
ask than
whatever.
a task,
Yeah,
right? Because
right.
they kind of
Yeah,
want the
you wanna,
developers to do their own thing. So.
and they got to get used to
But
their
that would be dope.
newfound freedom as well, too, Pixel. Right? Like you got to
Right.
give them the ability to spread their wings a little bit slow here. We can't just jump out the
Yeah,
deep
but you
end.
never know. I mean, that's
Well,
Toys for Bob loves to make those kind of
oh,
whimsical
absolutely,
kind of
absolutely,
games. So
You go
absolutely.
tap
that may
Naughty Dog.
be,
You could go tap
you know.
Naughty Dog, who made the original Crash kart racer.
Hey, if they had an out
They might
contract
be looking
like
for
Bungie
work.
does, they might be. That might be a real.
They got that filter.
Nitro fueled the last one. That last Crash Team Racing was Beanox.
Beanox.
Okay, so
Okay.
those Beanox, yeah.
Yep.
Who just opened that new studio in Montreal as well. So they got a
Correct.
second studio they just opened.
Correct.
Not sure what they're doing, just
Kart
as well.
racing, eh? You hosers, we're gonna make kart racing in Montreal now. We're here at the Beanox.
Oh, no. Not Mav accents. We're not
At
doing
all.
Mav
No,
accents.
Lord, no.
Oh, good
Lord, no.
God. Jesus.
No, but
I'm
No,
sorry.
terrible. But no, it's an interesting question to ask. In chat, you got to stay with us here on this one because there's so many different facets to talk about this deal. We can talk about this all night, and that's what we're gonna continue to do until we're ready to get on up out of here. But any other interesting questions that we got coming out of this deal, man? Anything that we, I don't know. Like we freestyling here, Mav. Anything off the top of the dome that we didn't get to yet about this deal, man? Anything else you want to talk about? Pixel.
Yeah. I'll say, what is the implication for the rest of for PlayStation on this? Like, what is this? What kind of pressure?
Oh,
does
that's
this deal
a good question.
put on
Chat's gonna love that
PlayStation?
one. Okay. I guess I'll start. I'll start on that one. So you said the implications from for PlayStation.
I imagine that even Jim in the past, we'll be fine. Yeah. What kind of pressure does this put on them? Because we are, as Jasper pointed out the other day, Call of Duty has been going somewhat more PC. So there's already been a loss from Call of Duty revenue on PlayStation as players have been moving to PC. And now you would think that also with this deal, there's going to be even more players going to Xbox and Game Pass and PC as well.
Sure.
So, PlayStation is going to be losing some Call of Duty money here, obviously, right? So it's going to put some pressure. We see them trying to do all these games as services and stuff that they're trying to do, but when are they going to come out? Are they going to be successful? All this kind of stuff. Does this does this reinforce their commitment to have to nail one of these things? It's going to be interesting to see.
They have to go acquire. They have to go acquire. They do. They have to acquire. They have to acquire a publisher. It's not going to be, as big. It's not going to be EA. Yeah. It's not going to be Take-Two.
Yeah.
But they've got to make
them solve their problem, though.
That's what I'm saying. No, that's what I was gonna.
Because they have to continue to build their teams out as much as they possibly can. They're never going to match one for one. We all know this, right? But they have to continue to be able to build out their teams because gaming in general is taking longer for each game, right? Each game is now extended out. We used to get during the 360 generation, we could get a whole trilogy in one generation, right? Now you're lucky out of your big studios, your big AAAs, those $200 million games. You're lucky out of the Naughty Dogs to get one game. Now Insomniac's a different beast because Insomniac's a different beast because of what they do and the types of games they're making.
Insomniac work like an indie studio,
right, and they're also working on the same types of games over and over again, and so it does help. It does help. It's a template. But like your Naughty Dogs, you're lucky to get one game in a generation now, right? That's where we're at. So they have to continue to build out, and a publisher, right, would give them more. Now, depending on what publisher we're talking about, right? Some wouldn't make as much sense as others, but at the end of the day, they have to try to keep pace, or at least not let the gap get so wide that they can't see Xbox anymore. They have to keep, and again, sales wise, they're fine. Their consoles are selling off. They're not in a problem situation here. But content wise and developer wise, they have to start securing some things. Yes, they have to start securing.
This is about the most vague we've ever seen Sony's roadmap. Since since probably PS3, since early PS3,
the most vague. But here's the thing, right? They don't technically need to keep pace in terms of with Microsoft, because what they're trying to offer isn't the same thing. They don't need to feed a beast. They have a service, but their service doesn't receive any games day one. So there is no expectation for anyone who joins PS Now or what is it, Plus or whatever it's called now, to be expecting a bunch of games to show up on that service. There's no expectation, right? So I don't think the pressure is as high on them as people think. Not when it comes to keeping up with content, right? Because their fans don't expect that content.
But they
expect those games to take a while.
But my point, Pixelbit, is the corporation does, right? And their software sales have been down. Right? There's no their hardware's up, but their software sales is down. Their engagement is down. They need to get more content out, especially thinking big picture. If they're going to move into the PC space, we know that they're working on their own storefront. We know that when they get their storefront up, my belief is we will see PC games day and date with the launch in their own storefront. They won't give them to Steam. They won't give them to Epic, but they'll do it for themselves. So they get the 100%. They have to think long term where they're growing, and that revenue stream has to continue to. They can't have these reloading times anymore because Xbox isn't going to have reloading times anymore.
The thing is, though, Pong, and once again, you got to have bullets in the clip. Correct. They don't have a roadmap right now. Those games as a service games are non-existent currently. You have to have something to support. Give yourself time to get to that point. Like you can't. You know what I mean? Like you can't 100%. even with the reputation, even as strong as a brand as they are, they can't continue to go the way they're going right now because there's too many questions going to be asked, and they're going to have to show something at some point.
The only way that I think that Sony would have additional pressure on them to buy, like Pong is saying, a publisher, is if all of a sudden tomorrow it is difficult for them to secure third-party content. Right, Sony's entire model has always been using third-party content to fill in gaps. 100%. Right, before PS1, PS2 era, Sony didn't even have studios. Not really, right? They only had third-party content, and then when they finally got studios, then they used the third-party content to supplement those studios. That roadmap hasn't changed. The difference now, right, in recent years, is that some of the third-party content isn't hitting as hard as it used to. Right, people aren't feeling the Square relationship the way it was, right? So unless it becomes a lot more difficult for them to secure content, I'm not sure that they need right now to buy another a publisher. I'm not saying they won't, right? But if they did, who would they buy?
You also have to account for the quality of the content at that point too, because Xbox's quality, their content is getting deeper. The bag is getting deeper. You got to consider the quality of the content.
I mean, it'll still get a 5 point less per game because it's Xbox. Tax must be levied. But
minus the obvious tax, Chad. Right?
Minus I hate you tax, but
minus the tax. Like I still think like the quality of the content is going to dictate, how important those games is, because they're. I mean. All right, so how I guess I'll ask this question too, not to change the entire tone of what we were already talking about, but how like are we certain that they're just hitting the e-brake at Sony on like whatever they had started with Jim, or are they continuing down that road with the games and service? Are they not doing that anymore?
We won't. I personally don't think they're gonna fully change course, because to Pong's point, right? There is still the real question for them is how do they grow, right? in their current model, they stay right where they're at, right? They'll continue to sell consoles like crazy. They'll, deliver big hits relatively, per game that comes out, right? Those are 10 million sellers, right? On average, right? Most of their games sell a lot. The question is, how do you grow beyond that, right? And I think somebody said earlier that, like, on a different show, that the problem now is because Microsoft is going to be more cemented into the industry. It's going to be harder to steal people from them, right? Like, it's going to be a lot harder to say, oh, get rid of your Xbox and buy a PlayStation, right? Because of the amount of content they have. But for the people who already have PlayStations, which there are a lot of, like, they're not going anywhere, right? So they got their pay pigs. They're going to be there, right? The question, I think, for them is more of, how do they grow beyond that, right? And if they need, if they're going to grow, the really only way to do it is through services. But the problem is that Sony doesn't really respect the service game.
Correct.
Because
They
their
don't
service
know.
doesn't actually look to provide value.
They
At
don't
least
know how
not
to do
right
it.
now.
Not right now.
Not
that
really.
Definitely hasn't been the focus.
Right. So
Yeah.
unless we see them shift, like, so when their first service comes out, it's gonna be day and date on PC. Right. It's not gonna be
Yep.
delayed in between.
Right.
Because they can't afford to do that, right? They need to get people to pay attention to that part of the platform, right? The question is after that, when are you going to start seeing the bigger games start showing up on their services, right? Because if you're not either beating people over the head with a gas game that's going to be monetized forever, you need to be able to force people to go into your service and give you money every month. Right. I mean, that's kind of how Microsoft has shielded itself from all of the headaches that it's been going through since 2013, is because Game Pass is kind of a shield, right? You get a bunch of people who are like, okay, I just want to play games, and they're giving you money every month. You don't even have to deliver any content, which, Microsoft didn't for an entire year, right? The service suffered a little bit, but they still were making money because you got a bunch of people in that service. So, for that reason, I don't think that Sony will totally abandon Jim's game plan, right? Because they need to have some kind of way to either to continuously monetize their people.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
They need to supplement
Yeah.
because Jim himself said it's not sustainable. The AAAs aren't sustainable as is, right?
Right.
They've got to have more revenue coming into support to continue to make those types of games because their base on the console isn't enough. And that's what he was moving them towards.
Mhm.
And you're right, Pixel. They've got to continue, and that's my point. Is you're going to have to You're going to have to continue to bring in more talent. They're going to have to be strategic, like they have been, because they don't have the bankroll to do what Xbox is doing with Microsoft as the parent company. So they're going to have to be strategic, but I think they need to increase, and they can't. The other part about buying a publisher now, they've got to be looking far enough ahead and realizing that right now there's contraction going on. Right now, acquisitions are happening. They've already lost two major third-party publishers off of the chessboard. Can they afford to sit back and even if it's not Xbox, what if somebody else takes control of a third party and they're not going to cut the sweet deals anymore with Sony? Sony has to be thinking about that, and they can't be left high and dry because they're already high and dry in a lot of places that they ignored all last generation, which there is now catching up to them, right? This generation. So I think that's why they have to look far enough ahead to
Yeah.
make those buys
Okay.
now
It's
where
a-
they can
it's a-
still
but
pick up something
the-
they want.
The
That's a good
interesting thing
Yeah.
too with Sony is like, okay, so in their situation, you look at it, if they are getting a publisher, which I kind of agree with Pong. I feel like that's going to be a bigger play because of infrastructure, games of service, and all these other things, right? But think about this aspect of it. When Sony makes an offer to a public company that's a decent sized publisher, at that point, then that publisher has to go and shop that deal around.
Sure.
And
Sure.
They may be putting blood in the water for the bigger
so,
yeah.
You think
Oh,
so?
yeah.
I mean, that could happen.
well, I mean, that have to by law.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, no, you're right.
so like Activision Blizzard, they had to shop it around. And if you actually look at the information that was put out there when the deal got announced, they had to disclose all those things and about like there was company A, B, C, and D, and discussions back and forth, negotiations, and all this kind of stuff, right? So whenever Sony goes after a publicly traded publisher like this, that's going to have to take place. Now, that means Microsoft will have an opportunity to get in a bidding war potentially with any publisher that Sony goes after. So Sony really kind of needs to go after private companies if they want to have a shot at this, that have a mutual interest to be part of.
Well, traditionally, Sony goes with companies they've had work with already, right? Like that's kind of their.
Yeah, but Bungie
All right, so you're
was
saying,
Bungie
well, that's
was
what I'm
kind of a
saying,
big exception
outlier,
there,
right?
right?
Like, but that's what. But are we saying that they at this point you can't the traditional route is no longer acceptable? You can't do the like.
I think
they're
they're
gonna
going
have
to
to step
struggle.
outside
Like
of that.
at the end of the day, they don't have Microsoft money, right?
Yeah.
Well,
And
that's. I mean,
if if Sony is a player in any of these acquisition targets, Microsoft could potentially just outbid them if they wanted to,
Yeah,
for the
they
same
could.
deal, just to prevent Sony from getting them.
Correct, they could.
So if it was a private company, then you can bypass all that, right? But it's going to be interesting to see because I don't know of any of the like which publishers are more private or they may have to regardless of Microsoft can just bid them up just to be jerks, right?
Yeah, they
And,
could.
Well,
They got that
CDP,
kind of money.
CDPR is going to be on their list, I think.
but I
'cause that
think
would give
that's
them a leg
tough
up.
nugget one though.
It's a
Yep.
tough nugget one with the Polish government involved, but I still think it's
Mhm.
something. There was reports that Herman Holst flew out there and talked
Yeah.
to him within the last month or two. So I think that CDPR is one of those moves that they could make, like Mav is talking about. That
Mhm.
wouldn't be
that
necessarily,
would be crazy.
you
That would be
and
under the
it-
radar a little bit.
and
Yep.
and
That'd be
they'd get
crazy.
GOG, which would be their storefront immediately, right?
Mhm.
All this
True,
work. I
true.
mean, I've been saying it for quite a while. The CDPR is a good. I mean, if they do it, they do it. I wouldn't necessarily, again, I'm a big CDPR fan, so I'd be like, okay, great. But as long as it's still coming to PC, which it would, I'm fine with it. It's just that I think that that's one of the best moves they could make right now to help out their situation.
Yeah. Or they would have to go after a target that they're sure Microsoft would not go for
Sure.
because Microsoft knows that
Right.
they wouldn't be able to get it through regulators or something like that, right?
Right.
What, like
Um,
UB?
Yeah.
Something, yeah.
Okay.
UB is like the
Well,
best
that-
value, but
Well, I think Microsoft could get UB, but
No.
I
No, because of the
No,
that'd be-
oh
TNA.
no
That's
no
tough.
yeah
Yeah,
oh
no,
that
no,
deal
no.
No.
yeah
And that
Yeah,
actually
no,
makes
no.
it hard for Sony.
15 years.
I forgot about that thing. If that
That's
didn't
never
ex-
happened, yeah.
if that clause
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
exist or whatever, but they could get a publisher like a Ubisoft, right?
Hmm.
But Ubisoft may be their target. Then is it Ubisoft or is it going to be CD Projekt Red? It's going to be interesting to see what they do. I kind of feel like they're going to go try and get somebody, man. And there's a lot of players out there that want to be sold, but everybody assumes Square's that company. But like, I don't think Microsoft lets them get Square. I honestly don't. I think Microsoft outbids them from Square Enix.
Plus, they're number one in Japan, so that's a tough one for
Yeah,
them
that's
to even
gonna be a
acquire.
tough one.
Especially now that
Right.
the spotlight was put on them, right? During the whole trade
True.
talks when
Yeah,
our
that's true.
government
That's a
put
good
pressure.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
might be hard to get through over there. I mean, I don't know how tough regulators are over there, but if they look at that, see the hometown advantage, that might be tough to get through.
No, but I think Ubisoft was their best hope prior to the CMA stepping in and making that clause.
Yeah, I
Like,
forgot about that. Right. So now that Microsoft is those rights at Ubisoft, now nobody can own them either now, right?
Yeah,
Well-
I mean, it would make it so it would
Oh, the
hurt.
cloud rights is what you're talking about, right?
Well, yeah, when their
Yeah.
cloud rights would like revert back to Microsoft or something
Nope.
like that.
Nope.
Or
They don't
so,
revert back.
so what
there's
happens-
No clause for that.
So if
It would have
if-
to be. It would be divested from Ubisoft more than likely.
Yep, they would have to divest
Yeah.
it
Correct.
again. Yeah.
okay, which could be crazy. Man, so many different moving
How
pieces
about
here, dude.
cloud divestiture to NVIDIA?
I mean, I don't think Microsoft would have a problem with that. but
Microsoft wouldn't care. I'm not sure if NVIDIA would be willing to pay for it, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, who else has the kind of infrastructure? So
true.
yeah,
No, but I think Ubisoft was Sony's biggest or best move for several reasons. Tom Clancy license. You use that and piggyback that to bring towards a SOCOM, games as a service, and then single player stories of Splinter Cell, Ghost Recon, things like that. Like that would be the biggest competition for a Call of Duty that you can possibly have. That Ubisoft has been kind of sitting on their thumbs for the past 10 years, not really getting the most out of. So if Sony was to, be wherewithal as far as forethought, I think that would be the way to go. Then you could take Jade Raymond, who you just bought her studio, one of the originators of, the whole Assassin's Creed line, give her that IP. So her studio is doing fair games, and then you can have the single player story stuff for Assassin's Creed under her studio that you own now. And Sony is, or PlayStation as a whole, is one of the few brands that could lay off 10,000 people tomorrow and nobody say a peep about it. They're the only ones that could acquire that kind of I won't say bloated, but like the sheer, the sheer mass that Ubisoft has as far as redundancy. And I don't want to say redundancy. It's just, they have a lot of studios that they're not utilizing in a way that is profitable for them. Like,
it's all
they haven't really released
it's
games.
all support. They have the most support studios, Fuzzy, out of any publisher. Like 100%.
And now they could use those support studios to help them, fast track a lot of these, whether it be games as a service or some of the single player stuff on the back end. But like, if Microsoft lays off, we already seen it when it wasn't even stuff that was fully gaming. Like, some from 343 left or were laid off. Some from marketing were laid off and things like that. But you saw what the news articles were about, or like when they, laid off 10,000 people. It's like, oh, this is, big bad business and whatnot. But Sony laid off, like, I think a week before, 2,000 people. And they were like mainly like some of the devs for some of these other studios for the games as a service that we didn't hear about getting canceled until after that. And the news stories were about, 2,000 people are laid off at Sony, and you saw nothing more about it. No buzz, no headlines, nothing. Like, they could buy a Ubisoft prior to the whole deal. 20,000 people, let's lay off half of them tomorrow, and it would be like a fart in a wind, like in a cloud kind of thing. Nobody would care. Well, I wouldn't say nobody would care, but as far as the gaming media, they would act like they didn't care. So CMA ruined probably the best publisher chance that Sony could afford. CDPR, I think, like Pong said, that would be an awesome move for the fact that it fits a lot of the areas that they're deficient in, especially on the PC side of things. Like, you want to fast track a store and you don't have Valve money, which only Microsoft and Amazon really have, that's your best bet. But I'll go back to my old tea leaves. I think Sony's best move moving forward is to either crawl back to Apple, because there was a deal on the table back in 08, like I think it was 08, 09, for Apple to take Sony. But Sony only wanted to sell their garbage, like some of the movie stuff and all that, when they ditched some of those things. And Apple's like, no, all or nothing. And it fell apart. So either Sony crawls back to Apple or Amazon swoops in. I'm leaning more towards Amazon because I think Apple's moved on. They don't need Sony like they once thought they did. The whole Apple TV was not the puck. It was a real TV that they were looking to do. And it would basically be a rebranded Sony TV. The cameras in the iPhone were Sony. So those Xperia phones or whatever would be basically up or like the entry level iPhones of today kind of thing. So Apple doesn't need Sony anymore. So I don't think there's a chance. I don't think Apple would even bother, because it's not enough value where they're making more money than Sony is without making a game in gaming. So they don't need Sony. Amazon, on the other hand, wouldn't mind making that investment. And I think that's Sony's best chance is Amazon comes in, buys up Sony, takes some of their hardware, incorporates it into their whole, Alexa series of products and whatnot. And they have their gaming series backed by Luna with cloud, an actual cloud, a strong cloud, competent division or line. And they go from there. But outside of that, Sony sticks on a budget. Small studios, I would say between now and non-E3, E3 next year, I think they pick up 2 more studios. One that makes sense on my radar is NWI. that's probably the most affordable first-person shooter, third-person shooter company or dev that's out there that could probably bring or fast track a SOCOM right now. I think that's their next play or a reasonable play. Dark Matter's another one, and I think those are the guys that do not Zero Dark 30. I forget the other PC early access game I bought, but it's like another one of those first person shooter / third person shooter type deals where they have all the, SOCOM like things without, the network or the fan base of a SOCOM type of thing. And then I think they have to find a backup for Polyphony to help make an arcade racer, or to make a not a Destruction All Stars, but an actual Twisted Metal. And I think those are the games as a service that they need badly fast, and then go back to what they know how to do best, the single player games like your Ghost of Tsushima 2. Stop doing these remakes or remasters. I know they're probably quick to spin up. You could probably churn them out in 2 to 3 years as opposed to the 5+ year cycle that it takes to make a single player AAA game nowadays. But at some point your fan base is going to start to see the writing on the wall. And I'm actually surprised a lot of Sony fans aren't asking for this roadmap. I mean, sure, Sony has earned a lot of like leeway over the years with the delivery that they've had over the years or previous generations. But me, if I was a Sony only fan, I would seriously look at like, hey, I know Spider-Man's coming out. Wolverine sounds like 2025. Is Fair Games all that we get next year, along with MLB and like possibly Marathon, or is there something else on the actual first party list next year, kind of thing? But yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's completely spooky over there just yet, but it is looking like Microsoft in 2017 kind of thing. Like they have already spent all the bullets in the chamber from their launch lineup. They got a few more in the tank. A lot of, I wouldn't say, because it's hard to gauge Sony employees. Like we always hear about the disgruntledness when it's like a Microsoft studio, and you very rarely hear about it with the PlayStation ones until after the people leave. And even then they're like on some sort of non-compete, non-disclosure kind of thing that they paid them to shut up type of deal. But I don't know. I wonder what it's going to look like 2 years from now, because I still think Bungie, with their ever genius move of having that out clause in their contract, I don't think they're part of Sony in the next 2 to 4 years. Like I barely give them 2 years, but we'll see. But outside of that, they're going to have to get back to what they knew how to do best, and then get back to being strange or weird like they used to be in the past. And hopefully that's hopefully it's not too late to turn that or get that churned up just yet. But I don't know. We'll see.
Awesome. And before we wrap up the show, because we don't want to drag it on too long here, man, but we got so much to talk about. But before we wrap things up, I do want to just kind of get in everybody's final opinions on just the future of like the ramifications of this deal, as far as like, how was this impacting the industry? How does this impact Xbox and like the future of Xbox going forward? And we're obviously going to start with our guests here. Shout out to everybody watching us, Amid, Cyber, everybody Splendiferous. Appreciate you guys. Oh, before I forget, let me do these quick super chats here. Got a couple quick ones. We got a $5 super chat from Adidas 20. He said, between old new IPs, this acquisition has endless possibilities, and each studio can assist the other, especially with shooter games. So shout out to you. Thank you for the $5 super chat. We got another $5 super chat from Alvin. He said, all I want from this acquisition is Xbox somewhere in COD startup screen on all platforms, but Activision still publishes it. We don't care. LOL. Shout out to you, Alvin. Appreciate the support. And I believe we got one more here, and then I'll get into this final topic. So $2 from Splendiferous. Appreciate you, brother. Said we need X-Men Cyclops Origins game for Pong Soul. I guess that was yeah, nice.
That's from Ellis. That's from Living Split Screen, because Steele says I'm not the Cyclops because I don't like Cyclops. Yeah,
nice.
No. Yeah,
nice. Shout out. But appreciate you. But yeah, let's go ahead and just get a quick just kind of wrap things up here and put a button on this whole ABK deal, and just quick, like, where's the future of this? Like, where do you guys see this happening? Well, we know what's 2024 looking like. So we'll start with you, Pixel Bit, on this one, bro. Once again, appreciate you coming out, hanging out with us, bro. But where do you see this next year? You know what I mean? Like next 12 months.
Yeah, I think this doesn't. Well, I mean, in terms of new content, this doesn't impact Microsoft all that much. I think they, they already put out a pretty decent roadmap during the summer show, which decent to good. I mean, it was a great show. Um, uh, we'll see probably a lot of big drops going into Game Pass over the next 12 months, but they won't do it in one shot. They'll do it in spurts, right, in between their other games, right, as to not cannibalize other content they have coming out. And I think probably by the summer, whenever that show comes out, we'll get a better idea as to how the integration is going and what to expect next year.
That's a
But
good point.
I don't think I think they're going to lean more on their the initial studios that they purchased. What was that, 2016?
Yeah.
Or so, right? So because that's what we saw in the show, right? We saw a lot of the studios that they got during the original run. This year they pretty much leaned on Bethesda. And ZeniMax Studios pretty much carried the year for them. Next year will be mostly XGS Studios, and then I think we'll see more new stuff coming out of the Activision stuff. Once the summer is over and they start like reporting on, how that's going. So.
Right,
Not
sure.
an immediate impact. Yeah,
for sure. No, great point. And I like the fact that you did bring up that too, the immediate impact, because integration is going to take time with Activision. That is a lot of people, a lot of assets, a lot of ideas, a lot of moving parts. So we do got to get that time to like happen. So that may not happen as quick as some people think it do. Although I do think the like plans are already in motion. I think things have been aligned. I think alignment's been, kind of happening for a while now, even before they could officially start talking. So, Mav, we're gonna throw this over to you, brother. Appreciate you first and foremost coming out, hanging out with us. But where are you at, man? Just to kind of put a button on it. Next 12 months for this deal, man.
You're gonna start to see a little bit of news trickles come out from Xbox and the ABK side about what to expect going forward. But first thing you're gonna see is this huge marketing train for Call of Duty keep going on, and then you're gonna see the first steps from the implementation. But I think at some point they have some kind of a maybe during the next Dev Direct in January or February, like they did this past year, they kind of acknowledge it more and talk about what the future means for Activision Blizzard within Xbox and more of a forward facing, like larger scale type video or something like that. So we'll see something like that. But and at that point, they'll probably announce the first games coming to Game Pass, and then we'll start to see the benefits come through, man. And I'm just excited, and I'm hoping what we get sometime in the next 12 months is some kind of big new game announcement from ABK that we didn't know about. That'd be absolutely awesome.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that unknown quantity is what I like as well too, because we
Yeah.
know, but stuff is in the oven. We just don't know what the fuck they're gonna take out the oven. What's actually gonna get finished cooking? What's gonna be actually the finished product? So it would be nice. A new game from ABK, would be kind of a left field for me at least. I wouldn't expect.
Well, you know what's
A
going
new
to
game.
happen at some point, right?
Yeah,
So it just
absolutely.
depends
Yeah.
on I know when they're going to announce the thing, and I don't think they really announced too much the last couple years as far as new games. And
I mean, everybody's doing Call of Duty. What is there to
yeah,
announce, right?
Mhm.
So
yeah. I know they have the survival game at Blizzard and stuff like
yeah,
that. So, but
yeah.
I gotta think Activision has something else that like I know they've been really besides some Crash stuff and things like that. They did do the Tony Hawk make, but I think they got some stuff in their chamber they
That
just haven't
Infinity
talked about.
Ward X
Yeah.
BioWare RPG. Let's go.
They
God, that
got
would be
some
huge.
stuff in their back pocket, man, that
Yeah.
they're just not ready to talk about because they've been
Yeah.
wanting to start to get some other things going. So,
Yeah.
um,
I do agree with
that'll be
that.
the exciting thing.
I agree with that. There have been some things that have come out, like Pong just, kind of mentioned right there.
Mhm.
There were some things that we've heard about in the past. So we know hopefully those will come to light within the next 12 months. We'll see, right? The integration is going to kind of dictate how we get that. And that is, I did love the fact, to kind of sidetrack here, Matt, that you brought up the show, right? How do the shows look going forward with this gigantic new company? How do you integrate them into the directs, into the, you know what I mean, the developer directs? How do you integrate them into the summer show? What the are they doing with all of these? How are we balancing this? That's 3 separate shows you could essentially do during the summer if you really wanted to, right? Like,
Yeah, the
you
summer
get the
show is going to be freaking nuts, dude.
right.
And usually like Activision from their side, they either just have a showing at one of the other things like the Call of Duty thing or something like that. But like this is going to be different kind of beast for them.
Yeah,
I like Diablo was at Xbox's show before, so that's not going to be new from that perspective, but potential from all of ABK stuff and knowing
yeah.
going forward, you will never see something from ABK show up at a Sony showcase. That's even just crazy to think about.
That's insane too. Yeah, that whole proposition is kind of crazy. So
Never again
And knowing that
anything.
everything that shows up is going into Game Pass day one.
Yeah.
that's
too.
crazy.
Yep.
That's even crazier.
Yeah, that's the crazy
God
part.
damn it. Yeah, that's the crazy part here. That's
That
the
show would
crazy.
essentially be an E3 by itself. Like they could take the whole week themselves, 3 studios or 4 studios a day for the entire week, and just to get through, that
Yeah,
E3 week.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's insane. That whole prospect of them being able to do that, just this whole idea. This is why this deal is so historic, and we keep throwing that word around. But God damn it, that's the only thing I can think of that makes any sense in this particular case. Historic is, I just think it's anything less is an understatement. But let's throw this over to you. I know Fuzz, you kind of were already chiming in there. Just
Oh.
kind of the impact, man. The next 12 months, just where are we at with this deal, man?
I'm going to take it from a different angle. The next 12 months, be prepared for hit piece after hit piece. All the IGNs and Metro UKs, whether it's talking about the Series S potato or batteries in a controller in 2024 or 2023 or whatever. I mean, they can't say nothing about the no games anymore because, yeah, that's all been resolved. But yeah, I expect these next 12 months to really show how many Sony like PS only fans are within the gaming media, and how many times they can do hit piece article after hit piece article. So be prepared. It's gonna look ugly out there. I mean, it'll be funny from our side of things, looking at them, doing throwing a temper tantrum. But yeah, that's what I expect from one side of the gaming space. But the other side, I expect it to be week after week, month after month, nothing but Game Pass newsworthy posts each week. Just Game Pass people are going to have dreams about Game Pass now. Like, oh wait, what are they having this week? Oh, I just heard that this game came there, or there's a whole series of these games coming from ABK, or some of these have been updated from Blizzard. But no, it's on Xbox's side, it's going to be all about Game Pass every week.
Well, we'll be having dreams, Fuzzy. Sony's going to be having nightmares, bro.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's what the next 12 months looks like. A lot of Game Pass on those that are subscribed and being happy about all the variety. And on the other side of things, people writing hit piece articles because
It's already started.
I was going to say they've been doing that since the deal was announced. Come on now.
No,
already know it.
the same people that were crying that
It's a
it's a
monopoly.
consolidation and now saying that Microsoft's wasted their money. So
Yeah, I was
I
going
wanna
to
hear
say
that.
Metro
Or-
UK already did that.
or-
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 beta is awful, and Microsoft has already wasted money.
yeah, there you go.
And the readers feature. I'm convinced that these aren't readers that are writing, that these are actually their own writers that
Yep.
just write under pseudonames and act as if they're readers. I swear, I'm 100% convinced now. It's crazy.
That's crazy. That's insane. That's insane.
Mhm.
So another thing too, you got this whole idea of people waving around this big idea that well, you guys started this, so don't get mad that Sony's gonna go buy and do all of this crazy stuff. And you just remember you guys started this, so I don't
Good
want to
luck
hear
with
you
those
guys
pack of nickels.
complaining. Right, like cut it out already, man. Like they're gonna have to do that out of necessity. Like it's not gonna be something that like they're just doing because they can casually go do it. They got to keep up, man. At this point, we got to be realistic about where things are going. But I don't want to hijack the topic here, Paul, because we got to let you get your bars off as well too, and then I'll go ahead and close up the topic. But yeah, the next 12 months for this deal, Paul.
Now comes the tough part, like Sean Layden pointed out, right? The easy part was the acquisition, as funny as that is after all this mess for 20 plus months. Now the transition starts, the integration starts. Next 12 months is going to be a lot of business. We're going to be hearing about, unfortunately, some of the bad sides, the redundancy. There will be layoffs. We're definitely going to hear about that. We're going to hear about some movement. We'll probably get announcement for who's going to take over leadership, which will be a big moment. So we're going to hear a lot of the business side of things as far as the next 12 months go. And then mixed in there is going to be what, people have brought up already, which is going to be the Game Pass announcements, which is going to be the gamers stuff, right? The easy stuff that they have, the easy W's that they have. They're going to have aces up their sleeves. I believe they're going to roll it out in waves, much like they did with Bethesda. I think we will see them kind of stretch this out so that there's always something coming up. I mean, there already is, and next year's looking crazy already in Game Pass.
Yeah,
but I think they're going to continue to use that to move the needle all the time as they roll this stuff into Game Pass. Might be hearing some licensing stuff if they get some licensing back for Transformers or for Marvel Ultimate Alliance and stuff like that. We're going to hear that as well. But I think that it's going to be the status quo for the most part. The roadmaps are pretty much laid out as everybody's talked about. There are going to be some surprises in there, stuff that we didn't know that was in the works. We'll probably even hear about maybe some teams expanding or breaking off into, a separate team like Beanox just announced where they now have two teams. We might hear that as Microsoft or as Xbox and Phil start to move their vision in as much as they can during this period. Again, this is going to take 2 to 3 years for full integration for this company of this size. So, but I think that they can do small things. I think we're going to hear a lot more positivity from those teams. We're going to we've already seen that in a lot of ways. Everybody's favorite reporter, Jason Schreier, put out a tweet this week where he had talked to a couple people from Blizzard and Activision, and they were excited for this. I think we're going to hear some more of that as they kind of open up as a company now that they're a part of Xbox, and we might see some surprise. We might hear about some things being greenlit.
Yeah, we talked about that round table, right?
Yeah, the round table.
Pretty soon?
Oh, yeah. We'll be getting the round table. There's supposedly, I was listening, Tom Warren did a space the other morning about kind of what the next things to happen are going to be. Supposedly Microsoft has a all hands on meeting November the 8th or the 7th, something like that. And he thinks that there'll be a roundtable around that time as well, where they officially introduce everybody and kind of the same thing they did with Bethesda and ZeniMax. So I think that we're definitely going to get that. And then, again, I think that Microsoft has got their side of things. Xbox has got their side of things laid out right now as far as shows go. We got Game Awards coming up. I'm sure they're going to have some stuff for that we're going to get ready for. But the Activision Blizzard thing, I think next summer, like you guys were just talking about, when that next showcase happens, that's when it's really going to get real, because when they start bringing some of that stuff out on stage, when they show up, whatever they're going to name that show, the Xbox, Bethesda, ZeniMax,
we might get
ABK,
a week. We might get a whole week.
We might get a couple days at
We might
least.
get a few days.
Yeah, they might split it up. But when that happens, when we start to get into next, early next year, next spring, and we start hearing that stuff about how they're going to kind of do this, that's when it's really going to become real. That's when the gaming side of stuff is really going to start to blossom. So it's going to be interesting next 12 months. It's going to be a mixed bag of a lot of different kinds of things coming out, but heavy business side of stuff right now. Up front, heavy business side. We're gonna learn about the Ubisoft contract. We're gonna learn a lot more about some of the details that we don't know about right now in regards to this acquisition. And I think that's where it's gonna be. A lot of it's gonna be outside of the Game Pass stuff. The Game Pass stuff is definitely gonna be rolling out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that too. And I guess just to chime in here and put a bow on this too, I guess I want to make sure we talk about this too. And obviously there's going to be a lot of PR cleanup, right? That's going to be first and foremost. We got to clean up the image of the company. So you're going to get a whole lot of that. That might go right along with that, you talked about the roundtable, obviously introducing the new regime, who's taking over,
Some
who's
of the moves.
doing what. some of the moves. That's all part of the PR too, right? You want to get that. A whole lot of talk about unions and things like that. We're going to get probably a bunch of that as well too as more integration comes. You got to get all of the human stuff out of the way right before we can get to the game. So obviously you get that stuff done, and obviously games. We're going to obviously hear more about Game Pass. Game Pass is the driving vehicle at Xbox. It's a priority at Xbox. They're going to continue to feed that. So we're going to hear about more what's coming down the pipeline as far as when we're going to get games dropping in. Do we get the next Call of Duty in Game Pass? Obviously, I do think we get a bunch of the old ones, obviously, before we get the new one. We'll see how that goes. You know what I mean? The deal should be up with Sony, obviously. So that means full autonomy for everybody. Everybody gets everything at the same time. You know what I mean? That'll be kind of cool. We'll see how that's going to play out too, right? So are they still going to be able to drop everything in Game Pass and get away with it, even with the new deal with Sony? Because we don't know what that new Sony deal is, right? We don't even know what the new terms are, right? It was different from the original one they were first offered, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm 100% correct on that. So yeah, we'll see a lot of different things, like you said, the full integration. Obviously, we want to hear about old IPs being revived. Maybe we get some of that. Maybe that was already part of the plan, Pong, as you talked about earlier.
Yep.
Maybe that was already part of the plan. And that's another thing too that we're going to see is like the way Bobby's talking is like, things are kind of lining up to where he was already trying to go. Like based on, the way he talks about the integration, like things are kind of going the way they want to go anyway. You know what I mean? Like he was going. He talks about it's a certain level of confidence. He talks about the integration and the level of confidence he has between Microsoft and where Activision currently is as a whole company. So I think that sheds a whole lot of light on like where they think things are going to fit at. So we'll see all of this in real time, as time goes on. But yeah, it'll be an interesting 12 months. The shows are going to be crazy. How are they going to sort that out? Are they going to have one big show? Are we going to do 2 days, 3 days? What is that all going to look like? Are they going to spread it out? Maybe you do 2 directs. I don't know if we're going to get another direct this year. That was always something that we, behind the scenes talked about. Maybe not. Maybe they just use the VGAs kind of like they normally do. It's kind of like their end of the year show. Although they didn't do it, I think last year they didn't do anything at the VGAs. I can't remember. It was last year, the year before.
Yeah,
that.
it was
last year, right?
Yeah,
they were non-existent.
on the back of the bad year.
Yeah, the back of the bad. Yeah, or ass into the bad year. They didn't do anything.
Can you imagine if Blizzard's CGI team, the wizards that they are, just whip up a nice teaser for the Game Awards for StarCraft 3?
Oh, God.
Can you imagine what would happen if they slide it in there? Yes. Can you imagine if they slid that in there, bro?
If this year
pandemonium,
that would be awesome.
announced,
That would be crazy.
Jeff likes those announcements. You give Jeff something like that, he's gonna go crazy,
bro. Absolutely.
Like Jeff loves to get to do
the
stuff
first
like that.
announcement after the acquisition of a new game is StarCraft 3. Can you freaking imagine? Oh my god.
The salt would be so immense. Oh my god. You would have people walk out of the theater like just like so mad. Exclusive. What if it says exclusive at the end?
Right.
Already. Yes.
Just putting it out there.
Yeah, because remember that wasn't part of the deal. The FTC, those governing bodies had no issues.
They are not required to put a single game on PlayStation.
They can play it in the cloud.
You can play it in the cloud, but you'll never get it on your console.
Yeah. Play it through that browser. Play it through that PS5 browser. Good luck with that. But
and then Kojima comes out and announces the Xbox game finally as well.
I forgot about
that.
Yeah, holy shit. I forgot about that.
Yeah, we still got that sitting out there.
Still got that sitting in there.
Yeah. We got so much sitting out there right now. It's crazy. It's crazy. And now they own so many gigantic games as a service games now. They literally, the thing that Sony is desperately trying to create, Microsoft owns like 10. And 5 of them are some of the top ones of all time. Like, it's insane the difference right now between these two. And what's
happening. A 4D chess move, man, for real.
It really is. It's really
why didn't Sony just buy ABK?
No, that's not happening.
I have about 69 billion reasons why they did.
Yeah, 100
absolutely. 100 billion shit. To be honest with you, but no, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the show on that note. And I got to be honest with you, chat. This might have been one of the best shows we've had all year. It's the energy here, the energy from you guys in chat, obviously breaking records. You guys hit the like button on your way out. I appreciate every single one of you guys. This was a fucking amazing show. I had such a good time, and I hope all of you did too as well, man. But we are gonna go around the horn here and just kind of give our final shout outs and just appreciate you guys' energy tonight too, man. It was crazy. Chat was insane. I could barely follow what you guys were, saying. It was so fast going through chat. But first and foremost, we're gonna start with you, Pixel. A great show, bro. This is about as good as it gets here at the Shop Podcast. Glad you can be a part of it. Glad you had some free time this evening to come hang out with us, bro. But let everybody know where they can find you at, Pixel.
I appreciate it, man. You will find me murdering people in Starfield shortly. But other than that, you'll find me on X under Pixelated G, and sometimes you'll find me on other shows. We'll see. But I appreciate the invite, man. Really good time with all you guys, as always. Mav, Pong, Fuzzy, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I appreciate it, man.
All right, for sure. Appreciate you, Pixel. Thank you so much, man, for hanging out with us once again. You guys know what to do. All of the information is in the description below. Go follow Pixel. Appreciate your support, bro, for hanging out with us. It was a phenomenal show, man. One of the best we've had all year. I think the numbers are going to show after it's over. That is going to be one of the best shows that we've had here at the Shop Podcast all year as well, too, man. Shout out to ABK. Shout out to Xbox. Shout out to Phil for getting this done. Satya for doing the work that need to be done. It was a hard 20 months, Pixel. It was a hard 20 months. We almost thought all type of different things, man. It was a roller coaster, but at the end of the rainbow now, and things are looking real beautiful going forward. I do got to get to these other two super chats. My bad, Splin. I didn't mean to leave you high and dry, bro. We got two super chats real quick. Both Splendiferous, both for $2. She said, will Netflix do an Overwatch series now with ABK? That is an interesting proposition. We didn't even get into all like the movie, the cross media stuff, right? As you say, Pong, what's that word?
Yeah, the transmedia.
Transmedia, yeah.
Yes.
We didn't even get into any of that, which is crazy.
Yes. What they own now is it's insane, man.
It's
yeah,
crazy.
That's why they need to get WB Discovery.
See, look, already opening up the wallet. So let's get to this last quick super chat before we finish up the panel here. Another one from Spin He said, or will it be Warcraft since we have the partnership? Great. And Pong just mentioned the team over there at Blizzard. Like, come on now. Best in the business when it comes to CGI.
I called that out. That'd be one of my first moves is expand that team out and let them do the CGI for all my AAA game. Like I would want that teamwork. They're wizards, man. That would be so cool. Plus they could make movies and series and stuff. Expand that whole squad out, man. Because that is one of the best teams in the world right there. Absolutely.
Good point. I want to pass this over to you, Mr. Maverick, man, a cousin. FSP love always over here, man. Anytime I reach out, just about, man, you always come through. I greatly appreciate you. You're like an informal member here at the Shop Podcast, man. But we always share co-hosts and we share a lot of love between us and FSP. So I appreciate you coming through. I saw Jasper, I saw Caitlin in chat. So shout out to the FSP love coming through as well, showing face here at the Shop Podcast. But thank you, Mav, falling through. We had a great show, bro. This is one for the record books, bro. Glad to have you here to be a part of this, man.
Yeah, could miss this one, man. Thanks for sending me the invite as usual lately because I think your chat's gonna start getting sick of seeing me here. But no, I'm super happy to be here, man. Whenever I can because I love the show, love the panel. Pixel Bit, it was really cool rocking out with you today as well, man. And it's just a fun ass time. But if you guys want to check out the channel, just go check out Fun Speculation on YouTube. And we're gonna just keep all this ABK conversation rolling. That's what's gonna happen. If you got sick of it for the last 20 months, get ready for the next 20 years.
New chapter.
Same book, baby. I keep telling y'all. Go ahead, man. Go ahead, bro. I know you ain't done yet.
No, it's Fun Speculation. Twitter, YouTube, all that stuff.
Appreciate you, Mav. You guys know what to do, man. Mav is like a family member here. You guys, please go support Mav, Fun Speculation. And I got to give you another quick shout out to Mav. You're doing a fucking phenomenal job juggling all the shows, the features, the guests. The shows are going great. You guys are growing like crazy. So much continued support and love to everything you got going on over there that you built, you and Caitlin and the entire FSP fan, man. So you guys, please go support what they got going on over there if you haven't already been doing that. But thank you, man, for coming through, blessing us here at the Shop Podcast, brother. We always love to have you, man. Appreciate
you, PTK.
Not a problem at all. And then my brothers, man, another phenomenal show. This another one for the record books, Pong. I knew it was going to be. I felt it before the show started. I'm like, man, this is going to be a good one. The people are going to show up. They're going to show out. And that's exactly what happened, man. ABK all day, Pong. Where we at, man? What we doing? What you got going on, bro?
It's a fantastic way to wrap all this up, man, on a crazy end to the week right here with my brothers and, of course, our amazing guest, my brother from another, Mav, and, of course, Pixelbit G. Just love to hear the energy. This is what we talk about. We've had these moments a lot over the past 2-3 years. We've also had our downtimes and those moments as well, but we've had a lot of energy moments. But this one right here is historic. It's monumental. We're going to look back at it time and time again. We're not done talking about it because now it really starts. So, again, this is just a fantastic way. I love my Saturday nights right here with the Shop Podcast. And tonight was one of the special ones. Again, when you look back and remember where you were, what you were doing in this community, this is going to be one of those. So appreciate you all. Chat, you guys were the chats in all the shows have been superstars. Thank you for the support. Yeah, superstars all week, this week in the lead up, but especially the past couple of days, just superstars. Great conversations, great ideas. Steele and I had so many great conversations out of the chat this morning, people bringing things up. So again, that's what this is all about. It's community. Yeah, we're the ones podcasting, but you guys are a part of the show. You guys make it go, and it shows up here. So thank you all for being here, supporting our show and supporting all the other shows that you do. Nothing but love and respect. You guys know the drill. Pong Soul on X, formerly known as Twitter. Pong Soul on Xbox, of course, as well. I'm going to have an extra show tomorrow. I'm going into a different space tomorrow. A place I normally wouldn't go, but I was invited and I accepted the invite. So it hasn't gone out yet. I don't like to spoil it, but keep your eyes and ears open.
Okay, holy moly.
It's going to be interesting. I was asked to be on to discuss Forza and a couple other topics. Well, that all changed obviously Friday. So tomorrow's an unknown. So it's going to be fun.
I can't wait till I see that.
Yeah. So I'll be putting that out as soon as it's announced officially, but check that out tomorrow. And then obviously next week starts all over again. Double Barrel Gaming, Mr. Boomstick, who has been knocking it out of the park. Obviously, he is available all the time. He is a machine. So this week he had it covered, and he's got it covered 5 days a week. So again, go check out Xbox Factor though on Tuesdays. Special place for me, even though I'm not on there anymore. 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Shout out to Boom, who supports this community so much as well. And then of course, Thursday nights, it's PM in the PM. I had to miss this week. Mav filled in that spot with a amazing Mav cast where he was definitely in his bag. He was definitely going outside the box in a lot of ways, but he had an awesome show when the stocks got halted, right? That was a big moment. I wasn't there to be able to partake in it, but next week we will be back, same time, same bat channel over on the Fun Speculation Network. Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time, me and Mav get down to business. And then Friday nights, it's the family. Never know how many people were going to be there. We had a nice big panel last night. Steele joined us. Game Pass Dad was there. It was a fantastic time last night, obviously over there, but come every Friday night. Xbox Ultimate Fun Speculation Network, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. And then, of course, Saturday mornings, Living Split Screen. My brother from another, Steel Rain, and I, 3+ hours. We went 4.5 today. Tons of ABK talk. Like I said, we got the chat involved. My God, we just had a great time this morning. But that happens every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Living Split Screen. Split Screen is all one word. Otherwise, folks, it is the golden age of gaming. We are seeing transformational type stuff happening in this industry. Plus, we are getting more games than any of us would have ever thought possible when we were kids. It's all here right now. It's the golden age. So get out there, play what you love what you play. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend. And thanks again, PTK.
Appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much, man. The easiest way to keep up with Pong is just go to X, follow him there. You'll be able to keep up with all of the shows, all of the different shenanigans that Pong is a part of. Who knows what he's going to be doing on Sunday? I have no idea. I was not told that this is the first time I'm hearing about it live on air. So Shout out to you, brother. Let me know if I need to bring the holy water or anything else.
Might need some
assist you.
mace and some
Okay.
tasers.
Cool.
We'll see. We'll
Armor,
see how it
different
goes.
things
Yeah,
like
yeah,
got
yeah,
you,
yeah,
got you.
yeah.
All right, I got you. No worries, no worries. But no, shout out to you, man. Appreciate you being here every single week, man. Let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere. Another show, another historic show for us too. Engagement crazy, chat crazy. Shout out to you guys once again. If you're new here, hit the like button, subscribe as well on your way out. But another phenomenal show for us. In the bag, bro. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Oh yeah, it was awesome having a Pixel Bit on here as well as Mav, and always love doing the show with you and Pong, man. This is what we came here for, and man, thanks for showing up, everybody in the chat and those that catch us on replay. Greatly appreciate it. But man, it's just the beginning. It's definitely going to be a wild generation, I think, for the rest of this generation going into next even. So be prepared. If you haven't already started building up on your backlog, be prepared on that one too. But man, always awesome being on here with you guys. Always awesome interacting with the chat. If you want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming, especially Forza now it's out and I'm 7 or 8 days in, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. Same gamer tag, Fuzzy Belvedere with a space on Xbox and underscore on PlayStation. And then look forward to seeing, if you want to see more of my shenanigans on other shows, just watch Xbox Lunch Break Special, 12 noon on Monday on Double Barrel Gaming with Mr. Boomstick, Crazy Louie, and Web Dave. And then later that evening, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Fun Speculation Network for FSP with Mav, Psychonauts, Jasper, and sometimes 3-Bit. Definitely, these next few weeks are going to be awesome, and just leading up to the holiday, what better way to talk about gaming? Just follow us there, and look forward to hopefully seeing everybody here next Saturday for the Shop Podcast. Same time, same channel. Hope to see you there.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you for coming through, man. Shout out to everybody in chat as well, too. But last but not least, your boy PTK Blam here, host at the Shop Podcast. Follow me on X at PTK Blam. Once again, DMs are open for ideas. You know what I mean? Very, very, very transparent regarding that. So if you want somebody on the show, specific topics, things like that, hit me up on X. It's always the easiest way to get a hold of me. But I appreciate every single one of you for coming out, man. So if you guys got any ideas, hit me up. But yeah, same time, same place next week. You guys enjoy your weekend. Have a phenomenal Saturday night. Please be safe, and we will talk to you guys soon. Peace out, everybody. Have a good night.
Later.